2, 1, 2. TOM, teachers of my eye. Who am I today? The scribe, been forever, but the name changes with the times. I come from a place where space is home. I go into realms where your face is gone. A change gon' come. As a teen, hypnotized deep in a sleep, party and slumber. 11 life path number, a life of death that's rebirth. Recall realities to reemerge. Soul purge, I'll lend you frequency like loan words. Before I teach, I spit a poem first. Step on stage, set the stage, car walking, set ablaze, divine fire. The body is divine attire, sewn from words. Sound frequency, awakening dreams. Don't pinch me every day I wake up, it's a home birth. Start from zero to become the heroes. Cycles of time causes expansion of mind. Potential is exponential. Gain XP, what your power made of. I've had to face self, face to fate, a double fate. What will I make of the present? I'm just trying to pet heaven. Twice great, 2 arms up is none to wave. It's nothing to wave. God separate the waters from the waters. Genesis 1 and 6. See, that source is thousands of years prior to a Bible even existing. It's called the pet word for heaven. Watchers of noon, primordial, pre-ordered, bringing order in order. Its law the scales will represent. A double gift, re-present, Ray is present. Ra, amen to the God inside. The crown will glow as consciousness grows. So what assignment are you on? Doubles. Bodies from walking. I do my best to do my best. Lead with the left, heart out my chest. By a step out of the flesh. On my crown is the Nemez, Corona shining. I do my best to do my best. Lead with the left, heart out my chest. By a step out of the flesh. On my crown is the Nemez, Corona shining. Serpent mind winding in alignment. Straight from Orion, the origins. Dig into the root, Kim originals, the oracle speaking. Your aura is gleaming. The sons of God, Amen, Ra. Who can't afford a reason to fall below your own means, meaning reaching beyond the firmament ceiling. I see linguistics tricking us deep into sleeping. The way we live inception, I must be dreaming. Doubles, double L, square root, mirrors, reverse the image. My grip is slipping. Almost forgot the point of the mission. Statement, point out all the contradictions. Blatant, truth lives where my eye is foundation. Yeah. Co-founded a nation, dictionary, study, spells can be scary. Etymology, this here is completion. Cycle circles, dualism, wisdom. I peddle flowers. 2 eyes are watching to see through the double realm I'm healing. Never out of what's within him. Infinite reasons, just like my brother Arcad. Always remain calm against demons. Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here. They crossed us into thinking that death isn't living. The lies are falling through my palms, arm wide, holes in my hand. The Pope's in command, I demand the throne back. Ancient teachings, I'm a throwback. Picture that, see this moment here is cold that. So black, I see through lies, why they hold that. Ocean motions, I'm flowing through noon in the boats of consciousness. My tongue is rolling, planting seeds, sowing, knee of speaking, untangled quantum DNA, spitting frequencies. I hear Christians scream hallelujah, and this ain't that the name of God is God. I must bring the order back, the scales are tipping. In the court of Allah, moonshine, Tehuti is Yah. This here is Ptah, bulldozing, the one chosen. Focus, when the light hits you, just open like lotus. Melt your mind when in mind time is frozen. Blow minds, my mind is golden. Coat me in gold, I've got a gold coat round me like I'm Tutankhamun. Like his when you spell my name, put 3 lines in. Scribe, presenting the law's findings. Who's he? I me, an echo of Tehuti. Yes, I do my best to do my best. Lead with the left, heart out my chest. By step out of the flesh. On my crown is the net. We do our best to do our best. SCRIIIBE Sessions Volume 1. for the record. Open your eye in alignment with time and you'll see the truth like it's a physical thing. From the darkness I arise, so it's not a surprise when you learn of the light that I bring. As above, so below, I find a rhythm and flow as I grow with the pendulum swing. This is the matrix where everyone's faking. They sleep here in life while we wake up in dreams. Shedding the skin like a serpent, this work makes it worth it. Attaining a purpose while searching internal, examine what all is in me. Most will not make it there, so can I take it? Reality shaking, you've seen what I've seen. Reap what you sow, we're the weavers of speech, achievers, and this is the read 'em and weave. You cannot read in vibrations that none of them speak. Walking metal, netter, light is feather is heavy to learn that your will isn't free. Natural willing, I continue to lead with my ebas. I'm sweeping my consciousness clean. Training in realms that are unseen. My aura is some set fire to all of the fiends. Stand on my Atef is all seeing. I we supply 93, that means we are supreme. Healing through tones on my senses, connecting in this year. Wealthy is health, this is green. This is illusion, reality veiled in delusion. Thoughts become intrusive, it's foolish to not know by now that it ain't what it seems. This is way more than belief. I see clearly the lines. My six senses of sight are hypnotized. No wonder everyone sleeps. It's time to set off the alarms. The performance and form. Don't you know you're a star? God in human form and you rise with the beast. More than man. Bread in my hand, that's the Lord in hand. Heard what I said, Lord, live in the man. Light is sought after, it's in the man. Come from the inundation lands. Light is sought after, it's in the man. Come from the inundation lands. We ain't the same man. Record keeper. Seeing the state of the planet, the damage, the famines expanding beyond your belief. I see they landed, they've handed the people a cannon and aiming it right at your feet. Blowing the hole where you're standing, creating the panic. The tactical planning is deep. Teaching you're only a man and the God is in heaven, the seventh outside of your reach. If you're the question, they'll call you a manic, frantic, erratic, depression, demonic. When you're teaching through the magical speech, they'll call you serpent, the one in the garden. Pardon my knowledge for having the knowledge and prowess to see. He really told the truth to Adam and Eve. You'll have to think between good and evil if you eat of the fruit of the tree. Now you're a god, open your eye, cleansing yourself so that now you can see. They stole the stories and twisted them like it's a spliff. They put the fire to leaves, I put the fire to speech. I put the fire to heat. We don't do liars and thieves, they just desire to greed. This is my record to keep, this is my throne. You cannot sit in my seat, and I command it. I give more than 10 commandments. This is the law of attraction, and we have infinite stamina. My stage is where I'm standing. This is my eye, God is in me. I only keep goddesses with me. They are the magical beings, they are the holy ones, birthing the gods. We're overcoming the odds. We are the even and odd. They're in the odds, we're in the awe. Ancestors answer my prayers, forever grateful. I will forever say thank you. Inspiration to awake the sleepers. Record keeper, more than man. Bread in my hand, that's the Lord in hand. Heard what I said, Lord, live in the man. Light is sought after, it's in the man. Come from the inundation lands. Light is sought after, it's in the man. Come from the inundation lands. We ain't the same man. Record keeper, more than man. Bread in my hand, that's the Lord in hand. Heard what I said, Lord, live in the man. Light is sought after, it's in the man. Come from the inundation lands. Light is sought after, it's in the man. Come from the inundation lands. We ain't the same man. Record keeper.
You and your family health and prosperity. May your monument be established on the foundations of Ma'at, and may you rise and come forth as conscious light, like the divine Ra, who rise and shine forevermore, Ma'at.
I look outside in awe, I see our people double-minded. People meaning creature, don't ignore the signage. Voices lead, though flying silent. Observation with my eye open eyelid. Look outside in awe, I see our people double-minded. People meaning creature, don't ignore the signage. Voices lead, though flying silent. Observation with my eye open eyelid. I am him, king, crown, rings, Nesu, I am in. Mindset of when fighting jinns. Sword, swing, samurai, I am Shem. Suhor, son of Heru, I am him. King, crown, rings, Nesu, I am in. Mindset of when fighting jinns. Sword, swing, samurai, I am Shem. Suhor, son of Heru. Words powerful, Hekau. See proof, you can feel the roots. Gone, just look up, I am proof. Breaking doors down, make some room. But I is now speaking through me and trust me. Atef, you're muted, good brother.
Hotep.
Peace, Hotep.
Peace.
Oh, you're muted again. Yeah, we can't hear you. Just go out and come back in. Peace and love, everyone. Welcome to the House of Aten. We are going to the title of this stream, this presentation today, Hyms to Ausar Part 1, Ancient Kemetic Literature, read by Atef Rem of the House of Aten. So we'll let the great brother Atef Rem Kemetic go out and come back in so he can bring us all in with the affirmation as he does. So before, while we wait on him, I will just give it Hotep and Henu to everyone who is here with us. We see you, Bijan Pharaoh. Peace and love. Hotep, great brother. Yes, there we go. We can hear you.
Peace and love, everybody. Welcome to the House of Aten Study Guide Sunday. Ancient Tehuti and Teachings of the Netteru presents the Hymn to Ausar. Before I introduce these wonderful brothers on the panel, we will begin as we do every week with our beautiful affirmation. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Unki and Ma'at, Un and S, Nintet or Sat and Ma'at, Min Hepapat and Ma'at, Her in Hu Kui, Per Ikut. I live for Ma'at, I exist within her. I do not speak in the place of Ma'at. Every day I advance towards Ma'at. My being is surrounded in darkness. I come forth as conscious light. Peace and love, everybody. I'm going to introduce the great brothers. First, I'm going to introduce the great brother, Scribe Ani Ptah Aten Tehuti, is a teacher of knowledge, spoken word artist, a creator, awakening the sleepers and healing the chosen ones through sound vibrational tone and conscious thought. He's a Sab, the wisdom door opener, the lead organizer of the House of Aten. Next, we have the mighty Minku Ara Mary Ma'at, is a student of the master teacher Saba Tehuti Amenhotep Ra, and a follower of Ma'at. Minku Ara is the Heb, the festivities organizer in the House of Aten. He's a cultural enlightenment advisor and teacher. He's a developer of the Pathways of Awakening, a director and producer of documentaries, a researcher of ancient civilizations, and a researcher of the knowledge of spells. And we have the great brother, Primordial Thought 9, is a seeker of divine wisdom, the wisdom with universal structure, the wisdom that remains the same from every perspective, the wisdom that adapts to any interaction, the wisdom that creates silence, the wisdom that sustains the House of Aten. And your presenter for the night, I am Anuk Ausar, Atef Rem Kemetic, the esteemed steward of the venerable House of Aten. As a devoted disciple of the master teacher, the illustrious Tehuti Amenhotep Ra, I proudly undertake the role of the sagacious host for the weekly gathering within our sacred halls of the House of Aten. Here we delve into the profound teachings that illuminate the path to Ma'at. In the sacred sanctuary of the House of Aten, I guide fellow seekers on a journey of enlightenment and understanding, drawing from the wellspring of ancient wisdom. Our gatherings are profound explorations into the depths of truth, meticulously deciphered through the lens of ancestral artifacts and the profound teachings bestowed upon us by the great Tehuti Amenhotep Ra. My commitment to the pursuit of wisdom extends beyond the confines of our weekly gatherings. As a true-hearted devotee of truth, I strive to embody the essence of Ma'at in all aspects of life, expressing unwavering love for my people. My soul resonates with the harmonious frequency of the Medu nature. I stand as a loyal guardian of Ma'at, steadfastly defending the sacred principles that govern our existence within the House of Aten. Welcome, everybody. Peace. Peace, great brothers. I don't know what's going on with my sound, bro. Every time I got it's time to bring forth my system is too many buttons, man. But anyway, this is gonna be great. How you feeling, good brother?
Feeling good, man. Happy to, I always enjoy when you do the readings. So, you know what I mean? That's always a good thing. So I'm just happy everything got figured out, and we good, man. We feeling good. Like I said, man, let's let's hear these wonderful hymns, man. I get excited when I hear things like this.
Hotep. Yeah, I just got some new internet too. It's supposed to be better. I don't know what's going on. we gonna see. We will see. Peace, Ani.
Peace, Hotep.
Peace, great brother.
He all blue today.
Yes, Kesbet Blue. Hotep Hinu. I think Minku Ara has, I know he said he has a lag, so it may be coming in and out as well. Looks like he's frozen. But yes, peace and love, everyone. Hotep. Bijan Pharaoh's in the building. Peace. Hotep Ma'at Hinu. Peace and love, family. House of Aten. Absolutely. Nukpu is here. Ma'at. Hotep Natiru. Uncle Jasaneb. Wachit Neb Ma'at. Absolutely. Peace and love, good brother. Nukpu. We have Antu and Anu here with us. Anu, the wonderful moderator of the House of Aten, who will be posting all of our links and making sure that Ma'at is always maintained within the chat room. So peace and love to you, great brother, and peace and love to Antu as well, one of our social media managers. So Tua for all of the work that you're doing, Antu, and posting on all the social platforms. Hinu to you for that. We have Hefe, Karu, member, Hefe, who says, Hotep family, Hotep, peace to you. And we have Squano trending in the chat, or just Squano. Peace, everyone. Peace to you. Welcome, glad to see you here, great brother. And the great brother Anu, the moderator, has posted the links to the support because the House of Aten is built on a reciprocity system. So those links are pinned to the top of the chat for you all to utilize. And everyone on the playback, if you're coming across our videos and our classes and you'd like to support, you can do so by utilizing the Cash App or the PayPal. And if you do not have Cash App or PayPal, you can just go to houseofaten.org, and I'll show that here momentarily. So here are the QR codes. For those of you who may be watching on your TV screen, you can just pull out your phone and pull up your camera. And once you shine it over this QR code, it'll take you directly to the links for our support platform. So Hinu to everyone who supports the House of Aten, and it's just assisting in us growing and expanding so we can continue to bring forth everything that we are bringing forth to you all. So let me begin to just show a couple things here. Houseofaten.org. Everyone go to houseofaten.org. We have lots to offer for you there. We have all type of merchandise, as you see here. House of Aten in the blue, the Natiru exist. We have this in red, white, black, many different colors. Short sleeve, long sleeve hoodies, sweatshirts, heavy, light. We have this in all type of merch. We have some new items. We have some hats coming soon. So look forward to those. It's gonna be fire. So Hinu to everyone who's going to the website and supporting by getting the merch or getting the notebooks that we also provide. The notebooks. I mean, we have a lot on the House of Aten website. So Hinu to everyone who's just participating in and supporting us. As you see here, House of Aten, the Natiru exist, with chapter 15 of the Purim Haru on here, something that I use daily. And you can find this all at the House of Aten, and I'll show that just momentarily, so everyone can see, and for all the new people who are coming in, because Hinu to all the Hinu, which is the word that means praise and adoration. Tua, for all of the new people who are coming in and asking questions and seeing what we are about. Peace and love to you all. I'm looking forward to building with everyone. And this is why the Discord community is available. So in the links below, you'll find our Discord, or you can just go to our link tree, which has all of our links, and join the Discord. So here is Well, let me share this. Okay, let me share the screen, make sure the sound is okay. All right, so here is the House of Aten.org, Pert M. Aten, the House of Aten. And this is where everything that you need, any information that you want to come across, if you want to also message us, you can do so here through the chat system here, or you can message on WhatsApp. If you have WhatsApp, you can message me here. And this is how you join in on the House of Aten for the Karu, which is the meta-netter word for partisan or supporter. And here is 3 tiers that we offer for you all to participate in. Uwa Sin Kemet, which is 1, 2, and 3. So you can go here and join in. Each tier gives you a specific amount of percentage off on the shop here, 5, 10, and 15% based on the tier that you're in. So great. And you'll also gain access to the House of Aten membership, Kuru member access only, classes, debates, and Ma'at Wisdom Wednesday, which is only available to the Kuru, to the great members of the House of Aten. So Hinu to everyone there. So here, as you see the merch here under apparel, so you can come here and support through all these different various means of merch, and also here for the children, for the youth as well. So very just fire designs. We're working on some new designs for everyone, and just again Tua for everyone who is supporting home and living, bathroom, bath mats, shower curtains, bottles, and tumblers as well. Some great tumblers. I love these tumblers. It's just a beautiful thing. So ebooks, the Great Saba Tehuti has 2 ebooks, Stepping Out of the Matrix and Melanin Dark Consciousness. You can come here and get your ebooks as well. Suitcases, desk mats, phone cases. So anything you need, any and everything that you need, and we are working on more. We're working on more. So the goal is to get House of Aten everything. House of Aten everything. The Natiru exists to represent, as we always did, and imbuing everything that we always have. When you look in the ancient, and you go to any museum and look at the items that we had, whether it was a brush. If we had a brush, it was shaped. It had Heru on the handle. Everything was always imbued. When we had a chair, it had the medu-netter in it. So it's not like how today where every item is just blank and has nothing to do with your spirituality. This is what we're re-implementing today, and what the great ones brought forward. And everything that we use and imbue should be imbued, and we should be able to apply everything that we're doing to our way of life. So this is a huge thing that the House of Aten is bringing forward. So looking forward to everyone showing us all the items that you're getting. And here is where you can watch all the pod classes as well. We have Saba Tehuti, the Tehuti pod class, the Great Saba here. And I want to give a great Hinu to the Great Saba Tehuti and sending him much uwachet, much healing, as this past pod class, which was supposed to be yesterday, Saturday, was canceled, as he's allowing his eyes to do some recovery. So make sure that you all are going and supporting via the Cash App or PayPal to the Great Saba Tehuti, so that way we can continue to allow the pod class to exist. So Hinu, it's your questions that bring forth the pod class. So Tua and Hinu to the Great Saba Tehuti, and you can come here and look at all his classes right here in playlist form. So it's all right here for you to go through. And that's like that with all of our classes here as well. So you can support each individual teacher and presenter that you see here. So Tua Hinu, And here is our social media link tree. Everyone, make sure you hit the link tree and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all these places. As we are continuously growing, the goal is to get to 1,000 followers here on TikTok, so we can go live on TikTok, and we're slowly but surely making that ascension. It's really not even that slow. It's pretty quickly. We're moving pretty quickly in reality. So Tua and Hinu for everyone who's following us on all these platforms. And we also have the Spotify. I also want to put this out there for everyone, so you can go and listen to the pod classes, both the Tehuti pod class and also the study Sundays that we have here that you are part of right now. We're the great and wonderful sister Sherry Ka, who is doing this for us, and she's taking the classes and putting them just in audio form and bringing them forward and just have the teachings and some of the discussions in between the teachings. So, you know, the classes that on YouTube may be 10, 11 hours. Once you cut it down to just the teachings, cuts down to 6 hours or so, 7 hours. And so she's doing this to help everyone and also just to have the audio experience. So Hinu and Tua to Sherry Ka for the Spotify. So everyone go here and also follow us here on Spotify. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so Tua. And here is where you can donate. If you do not have Cash App or PayPal, you can just do this, hit add the cart. And then once you go to your cart and you go to checkout, let me make sure of something. There's a button to click tip. So make sure that you all hit that. So that's a way to support as well. Yes, so Tua Hinu, useful sources here. Some of the dictionaries that we use, the Ancient Egyptian Dictionary, you can get here on House of Aten. You can do your studies here, Volume 1, Volume 2. And you can also download these as well if you like to download them. So this is houseofaten.org. Yes, come shop with us, come build with us, and join us. Join us as we continue to grow and expand. It's you all who are the pillars in allowing us to really rise up a community once again. So Tua and Hinu, and with that, I will show some of the support that came in prior to this class. And I will also put the banner on the bottom here, so you all can continuously see the Cash Apps and PayPals. So let me share my screen. We got two from the great brother Nito Campbell, because if he misses a class, he makes sure to support every single class, which is a great way to receive the reciprocity of the teachings that we're bringing. So to our great brother for leading by example and supporting every class. And here we are, Nito Campbell, who sends in $9 for Sunday, May 21st, and also $9 here for 4/28/24. Peace, everyone. So Tua to Squano, who is Nito Campbell. Peace to you, good brother. And yes, just Tua for your consistency, one of the most consistent supporters of the House of Aten that we have. So Hinu to you, great brother. Tua. And yes, Hotep. And next we have an initiate member, level 3, Kemetic, who is Sherry Ka. So Hinu and Tua to Sherry Ka for signing up for Kemetic. membership. So Hotep. All right, and we'll have some important, we'll have some big news this month as well. So just keep on the eye out for that. You know, we're always growing. You know, we're always expanding and pushing this thing to new limits. So what everyone is seeing and witnessing here in the House of Aten is the only place you will see something like this happening. Where we're giving classes and doing readings and allowing the great Karu to come forward and also start to sharpen their sword and start to put together presentations as well. And so this isn't happening nowhere else. This is it. So Hinu to everyone who supports this. So yes. And I think that's all the announcements that I have for now. Let me double check. Fair use disclaimer, copyright disclaimer for fair use beforehand. So everything we do is fair use. Hotep. And yes, I'll pass it to the great brothers. Peace and love, Hotep. Support the House of Aten.
Hotep, peace and love. Y'all brothers ready? I got anything to add before I go in?
No, I'm good, great brother. Do your thing.
How's my sound, good brothers?
You sounding fantastic, brother.
Okay. Hotep Hinu, let me get this together. Y'all know I'm a baby, new to this, so we're gonna get this screen sharing thing right. Hold on. Okay. Can y'all see? Can you see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. All right. Hotep. Peace and love. Everybody, welcome to the House of Aten Study Guide Sundays. Ani, that's a fire thumbnail. You always make great thumbnails, good brother. But I'm gonna begin this reading, and this is the hymn to Aten. You know, I like to give a little context first because I'm a baby and I'm just learning, and I'm happy to be where I'm at. Like I say, put the boat in the water where you at. So we're gonna get started. I don't know if you playing music, Ani, but
yeah, there's music playing.
Okay. All right. So this is the hymn to Aten, and I'm gonna just start out with a little bit of context and just show you guys what I'm reading from. So again, this is I'm reading from this book right here, The Gods of the Egyptians, Volume 2 by E.A. Wallace Budge. It's easily picked up at Amazon. You can get it for $6 or $27. You know, you get the used version, a paperback one. I have so many books now. I'm just so grateful for my great teacher, Uncle Ajit, while you take this time to rest and heal your eyes. Yeah, this is the book I'm going to be reading from. I'm going to be reading from page 113. And I just want to share a little bit of context before I begin. So this is something I got from the website. This is from the Penn Museum. So I'm just going to read a little bit here. And it says, the creator emerges. It says, the principal creator God in ancient Egyptian religion is the sun god in the Egyptian language. The word for sun is Ra, and this was one name for the sun god, but he was also regularly called Atum from the word Tim, which means complete. The name Atum seems intended to invoke all matter as concentrated in the creator. Before creation emerged, creation is a process of unfurling, with the undivided all gradually fissioning into separate entities. ATTON already exists, at least in potential, within the primeval nothingness before creation. In some religious compositions, it is stated that his first offshoots were also already present. These are, in the terms of human society, his son and daughter. The male has the name Shu, from Shu, to be dry, and the female is called Tefnut, from a rare word Tefnut, to corrode. So in opposition to Shu, to be moist. The coffin text also equates Shu with the grammatically masculine Kemetic word for life, Unk, and Tefnut with the grammatically feminine Kemetic word for what is right, Ma'at. In other writings, the crucial element that enables the creator to emerge is the female contribution. In different guises, this cannot be only Tefnut or Ma'at, but Hathor, or the deified principles of Ausar, a name meaning she grows as she arrives. The emergence of the creator is given various verbal and visual expression, predominantly associated with the new land emerging from the annual flood. A heron alights on the first dry ground. This heron may be called BENNU, the Kemetic equivalent and perhaps origin of the classical Greek phoenix. A lotus flower emerges out of the water. In the New Kingdom, about 1550 to 1069 BC, and later this motif is assigned to Nefertim, the god of scented oils, lotus of the nose of Ra. The mound itself offers the original sacred ground. Temples are said to be sited on the primeval mound for the first time of creation. The various references to the emergence of the sun god from the floodwaters and the following generations down to Ausar are often called in Egyptology the Helopian theology, Helopolis being the Greek word for city of the sun god, the place with the Kemetic word Ennu in Lower Egypt Province 13. As with the Hermopolitan theology, this assumes much that we do not know. We do not know when or where these ideas developed, and they do not stand in absolute opposition to the ideas of the 8 forces existing before creation, but contain the continuation of the story beyond creation, from Ra to Ausar and Horus. On myth, there is no single ancient Kemetic narration combining all the different motifs and expressions of the mysteries of creation and the origins of the present world. We have to summarize the episodes and references of numerous different sources. It is important to be aware that such a summary may be entirely non-Kemetic. Modern analytical response to the question of creation. The Egyptian response seems to have been not to tell stories. These emerge much later in the surviving record, but to express relations between different divine forces and groups like constellations. Constellations. This is the term Osman has been used for the Egyptian material. So this is a beautiful picture I got right here from the Penn Museum to the left. By the way, the Penn Museum has one of the largest collections of our stolen artifacts. And over here is a great depiction of the two of ATTON. My screen is acting up, but this is a picture of ATTON and ATTON Ra. So this is just to give a little bit of context. This is about Ausar. So on myth, the great brother, this is something that we always bring up. The great brother he showed it a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to show it again. But myth from 1830, from French myth 1818, and directly from modern Latin mythos, from Greek mythos, speech, thought, word, discourse, conversation, story, saga, tale. Myth, anything delivered by word of mouth, a word of unknown origin. Beeks find it quite possibly pre-Greek. Myths are stories about divine beings generally arranged in a coherent system. They are revered as true and sacred. They are endorsed by rulers and priests and closely linked to religion. Once this link is broken and the actors in the story are not regarded as gods, but as human heroes, giants, or fairies, it is no longer a myth, but a folk tale. Where the central actor is divine, but the story is trivial, the result is religious legend, not myth. Anyway, it says the general sense of untrue story, rumor, or imaginary or fictitious object or individual is from 1840. So right here we have before 1840, in 1830, it was used as speech, thought, word, discourse, conversation, or story delivered by word of mouth. And then in 1840, it became something that was imaginary, fictitious, or an object or individual. So when we're trying to break these matrices, our great Saba, he dates and etymology is a great way to break these matrices. So I just wanted to show that again. Again, I'm a baby, so I'm putting the boat in the water where I'm at. So this helps me understand things when I hear this, because this word myth is used so often that, you know, it makes you think that because we speak English, we're not using our mother tongue when we're uttering these tones. You know, it's very easy to get confused. So I just wanted to show this. This is etymology. This is in the dictionary. This is, in my opinion, this is straight from the dictionary from 1840, 1830. You can look it up yourself. So right here, let's look up this. Let's look up cult. So cult, and from 1610, it's a noun. It means worship or homage, a since now obsolete. 1670s, a particular form or system of worship, from French culte from the 17th century, from Latin care, labor, cultivation, culture, worship, reverence, originally tended, cultivated, past participle of color, to till. Okay, so cult means to till. It means cultivation. Cultivation, to till. Okay, that sounds like farming. Okay. The word was rare after the 17th century, but it was revived mid-19th century with reference to ancient or primitive systems of religious belief and worship, especially the rites and ceremonies employed in such worship. Extended meaning, devoted attention to a particular person or thing, is from 1829. And if you go down, it says also quali, Proto-Indo-European root meaning revolve, move around, move round, sojourn, or dwell. Sounds like Ra to me. Sounds like the sun. And it forms all or part of all of these words: ancillary, accolade, bicycle, culture, cultivate, colony. Okay. All right. So that's cult and that's myth. This is straight from the dictionary. I just cut it and just copied and pasted. I didn't add. I didn't take anything away. You can see it for yourself. So next we have, this is the King's List. And this is a list of kings from Abydos, Egypt, about 1270 BC. The list of Kemetic rulers comes from a temple of King Ramesses II. Monumental lists or past kings serve to express the living ruler's legitimacy. In the full original relief, Ramesses was shown honoring his predecessors and the god Ausar, who was also believed to have ruled over Kemet. The kings are represented by their throne names written in oval cartouche. Rulers deemed unimportant or illegitimate, including ruling queens, have been omitted. A pharaoh was known primarily by his throne name, which was typically a statement about his divine father, the sun god Ra. This explains why each cartouche contains a sun disk at the top. And this is from this artifact right now, I believe, is in the Met Museum. And this is another picture of it. It's the King's List. The British Museum. I stand corrected. It's from the British Museum. And this piece it says right here, curator's comments. It says the two main temples that survive at Abydos, the cult center of Osiris, are memorial temples to two of the most prominent kings in the 19th dynasty, Seti I and his son Ramesses II. The decoration of both temples included a list of kings of Kemet. That of Seti I is complete and is still in the temple, while the 5 remaining fragments of the list of Ramesses II were executed by Banks in 1818 and in 1837 taken to France by the French consul general of Egypt, J.F. Manoumat. His collection was acquired for the British Museum in the same year. As far as can be discerned, the two lists were very similar, although the list of Ramesses may have been physically shorter, with more rows to accommodate the same number of royal names. A figure of Ramesses II would have stood at the right side of the scene, perhaps with a son. The royal figures were probably depicted, making offerings to their predecessors and to Ausar, partly preserved at the left. The list's surviving part contains sections of 3 rows of cartouches. The upper 2 are those of earlier kings, while the bottom row gives the 2 alternate names of Ramesses II. The upper row names several kings who belong between the known rulers of the 6th dynasty and those of the later 11th dynasty, and as is clear from Seti's list, and are usually assumed to be the relatively short-lived kings of the 7th and 8th dynasties. The Seti list omits the kings of the 9th, 10th, and early 11th dynasties. The 2 middle rows name kings from Senusret in the 12th dynasty to Ramesses II, but omits Seb-Nefkaru, the last ruler of the 12th dynasty, a woman. All the kings of the 2nd intermediate period, the female pharaoh Hatshepsut, and the 18th dynasty monarchs between Amenhotep III and Horemheb, the Amarna period. The importance of both the Abydos list is twofold. Most of the 7th and 8th dynasty kings are not recorded elsewhere, but of perhaps even greater importance is the light these lists shed on who were regarded as legitimate kings. That it should omit the kings of the intermediate periods is hardly surprising, but all female rulers are missing too, and the list confirms the view that the Ramesses regarded the Amarna kings as best expunged from history. Such kings lists were not compiled to present an objective history to subsequent generations. Rather, their context is a temple which glorified the king and the deities by showing themselves worshiping their predecessors. Seti and Ramesses were stressing how well they fitted into the age-old kingship of Kemet, thus enhancing their legitimacy. The King's List tells us how much about Kemetic ideas of history as it does about the sequence of kings. I read directly from what they wrote in the British Museum. And this is the actual artifact right there. I thought it was important to show that. And this is our good brother. This is who I'm going to be reading about. This is Osiris. And I snatched this from, I want to say, the Penn Museum's website. Been doing a lot of visiting the museums to get context. It's just, it's very interesting, I'll say. So anyway, Osiris, the god of the afterlife and fertility, new life, married to AUSET and the father of Heru, murdered by his brother Seth, but brought back to life by Isis, AUSET, usually depicted as a Sahu with green or black skin, holding a crooked flail in ancient Egypt. A flail is a rod with 3 bladed strands attached to the top. Ancient Egyptians believed that he judged the souls of the dead and decided whether they were worthy of entering the afterlife. He was linked with the annual flooding of the Nile River, which brought new plant life, just like he was brought back to life. He was also part of the ENNEAD, which is the first 9 gods and goddesses. Let's learn about the ENNEAD. Has a great depiction of the Ennead. The Ennead, gods and goddesses. In the top row from the left to right, we have ATTON, TETTU, Shu holding Nut aloft, and Geb laying at Shu's feet. In the bottom row from left to right, we have Ausar, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. And this is the Ennead. So just to touch a little bit more on the Ennead. What is going on?
Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here.
Hey, what is this? Doctor, hold on, I don't know what's going on. Dr. Erica Jawin, what is this? Postdoctoral research geologist, Department of Mineral Sciences, Smithsonian Institute.
Death culture, death culture, death culture,
asteroid,
death culture.
What? The asteroid is called 101955? BENNU or just BENNU picture? Oh, boy, yo, I just got new internet. I'm trying to work this out. I'm dealing with the camp. What is
death culture, death culture, death culture.
Oh, boy, what is going on in this matrix? Hotep, the Ennead, the doctor, what is this? Dr. Erica, this is the same thing. What's going on?
It's like, it's fraudulent, but everything is fraudulent.
Oh my goodness. Y'all bear with me. My computer's acting up. I don't know what's going on.
Death culture, death culture, death culture.
What oh boy. What does it say? Life's origin and its ending. Asteroid 101955. What is this asteroid? BENNU can teach us about both life origins and its ending. Dr. Erica. Oh boy. What can we learn from, I don't know if you guys could see this. I don't know what's going on. Bear with me. My computer is acting
It's like,
up.
it's fraudulent.
What can we learn from 1090? Asteroids are ancient building blocks of planets. BENNU is rich in organic compounds and water bearing.
Death culture, death culture, death culture.
Oh boy, okay. Y'all bear with me, guys. Hotep, peace. Let's go. I'm trying to, okay, there we go. The Ennead, that's where he was at. The Ennead, okay. the Ennead. The Ennead, the gods and goddesses in the top row from left to right, ATTON, TETTU, Shu, holding Nut aloft, and Geb lying at Shu's feet. In the bottom row from left to right, we have Ausar, AUSET, Seth, and Nephthys. See individual gods and images captioned below for image credits. All right, I gotta get this working right. Okay, can y'all see? I hope y'all can see. I can't read it. Okay, what is this? BENNU. The Ennead. What is the Ennead? Let me see. What is going on? The Ennead. Okay. What is this? Okay, I guess I just have to read this. Okay, I guess this is from Wikipedia. It says BENNU, Wikipedia. BENNU is an ancient Egyptian deity linked with the sun, creation, and rebirth. What? This is Ausar. Wait. BENNU, Wikipedia. BENNU is an ancient Egyptian deity linked with the sun, creation, and rebirth. Sounds like Ausar. He may have been the original inspiration for the Phoenix legends that developed in Greek mythology. There's that word again, mythology. What is this? Roles. According to Egyptian mythology, BENNU was a self-created being said to have played a role in the creation of the world. Scribe, I'm gonna need some help, brother, with learning this Canva, brother, because I'm still having a hard time. But I guess I'm gonna just read what's here. The pyramid text depiction, the pyramid text, which dates to the Old Kingdom, refers to the BENNU as a symbol of ATTON, and it may have been the original form of BENNU. In this word, the shape of the bird used is definitely not that of a heron, but a small, symbol, major, cult center, Helopius. Okay, so I just read about that. Symbol, gray heron, possible animal model, remains of a giant human-sized heron species thought to have gone extinct around 1500 BC were discovered in the United Arab Emirates in 1977. It lived on the Arabian Peninsula and shit. Okay, I'm trying to read about Ausar. I'm just trying to get to the hymn to Ausar, and I was just reading a little bit about just showing. Okay, what is this? BENNU. Okay, from Wikipedia. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. BENNU is an ancient Egyptian deity linked with the sun, creation, and rebirth. He may have been the original inspiration for the Phoenix legends and that developed in Greek mythology. Roles, according to ancient mythology, BENNU was a self-created being said to have played the role in creation of the world. He was said to be the Ba. What? Okay, all right. I'm just gonna read this guy. I hope I can get through this and get to the hymn, I guess. He was said to be the Ba, personality component of the soul of the sun deity Ra, and to have enabled the creative actions of ATTON. Okay, I guess this relates. The deity was said to have flown over the waters of Noon that existed before creation, landing on a rock and issuing a call that determined the nature of creation. He was also a symbol of rebirth and therefore was associated with Ausar. Okay, there we go, Ausar. Some of the titles of BENNU were He Who Came Into Being by Himself, the Lord of Jubilee, a later epithet referring to the belief that BENNU periodically renewed himself like the sun was thought to do. His name is related to the Egyptian verb weben, meaning to rise, uben, meaning to rise in brilliance or to shine. Okay, all right. This is related, I guess. Okay, the pyramid text, which dates to the Old Kingdom, refers to the BENNU as a symbol of a tomb, and it may have been the original form of the BENNU. In this word, the shape of the bird used is definitely not of a heron. I just read that part. However, the same bird is used in the spelling of the word bent and in painted limestone relief wall fragment from the Sun Temple of the 5th Dynasty Old Kingdom King Nusare. This hieroglyph clearly shows traces of blue-gray paint on much of the bird body, indicating that it is referenced a different bird species. The shape and color seem to point rather to kingfisher, for which, however, another name was used, Henti, the one of the canal. It could be summarized that a kingfisher flying low over water and shrieking loudly would be a reasonable mythical basis. There we go, that word again, mythical basis for the creator deity Aten of Heliopolis, and having risen from the first dark waters called Noon in order to start his creation of the world. If so, the kingfisher BENNU or BENNU is a good match for the story and cultic, for the mythical and cultic, those two words, they keep popping up. Nile goose of the creator deity Amun in later periods. Imagined to have been honking loudly in the primeval dark above the still waters in order to bring forth all creation. I was trying to read about the ENNEAD, but I'm going to just, New Kingdom artwork shows BENNU as a huge gray heron with a large beak and 2 feathered crests. Sometimes BENNU is depicted on perched on a Ben stone, representing Ra and the name of the top stone of the pyramid, or in a willow tree representing Ausar. Wait, am I reading this right? Okay. Because of the connection with Ausar, BENNU sometimes wears the Atef crown instead of the solar disc. All right, okay. All right. The myth of the phoenix comes from ancient Greece and has been mentioned by Herodotus, Pliny the Elder, and Pope Clement I, among others. However, some believe that the origins of this mythical figure are rooted in ancient Egypt, where a heron bird called a BENNU was worshipped as part of their creation myths or creation stories. Okay. BENNU was the avatar of Ausar, one of the most important netters of ancient Kemet. One of the first mentions of the BENNU comes from the ancient Greek historian Herodotus in the 5th century. He skeptically details the Egyptians' worship of a sacred bird. I don't know what there we go. All right. Okay. Again, this is these two are the most common depictions of Amun and Amun-Ra, were used interchangeably for both netters. Amun on the left, eternal space shared under, and Amun on the right. And this is a depiction I snatched from, I want to say, the Penn Museum. There I go. We'll be back to it now. Okay, here we go, guys. Let's keep it going now. We'll get to Ausar. Oh boy, here we go. What is this? BENNU, I just read this. What is going on?
Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here.
There we go. The ancient is all right. There's a
death culture, death culture, death culture.
All right, okay. There's a picture of the BENNU bird. I don't know what that thing is. All right. Oh, what is this? I see some metal netta, BENNU, a heron, and glyphs. What is that? Osiris Ra? X asteroid sample return to the mission.
Death culture, death culture, death culture.
Computer fixed from vast outer space. What is this, man? From vast outer space to dirt beneath us. Smithsonian experts from the National Museum of Natural History take you into their world by sharing stories of
death culture, death culture, death culture
in their lives to explore. This video contains 3 brief talks: life's origins and its ending, asteroid. BENNU can teach us about both. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. I think Saba taught on Osiris X. That's summary. Asteroids are leftover materials from planet formation and are some of the most ancient bodies in our solar system. Some asteroids are even believed to contain the building blocks of life, but asteroids can also pose a major threat to life on Earth. Think about the dinosaurs. Hear about how NASA's OSIRIS-RA X mission is currently investigating asteroid 101955 BENNU and learn what asteroids can teach us about the origin of Earth and the life on it, as well as how to better prepare for a potential
death culture, death culture, death culture.
What is this? NASA's OSIRIS-X Ra mission. What is this? Origins, spectral interpretation, resource identification and security, regolith, explore. What is this? OSIRIS-X. I don't know what this is. I'm trying to read the hymn to Aten, and this keeps popping up. Oh, whatever this is, I don't know what it is. There is some speculation that the BENNU may have influenced the Greek myth of the phoenix.
Death culture, death culture, death culture.
What is this? What does it say? Return to NASA asteroid sampling. This is whatever. Let me just keep it pushed. What is this? Asteroid impending Armageddon. Near Earth asteroid orbits are unstable. If BENNU hits Earth, the energy release would equal 1.200 megatons of TNT. I don't know what's going on here.
Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here.
About Ausar, so I don't know what any of that has to do with Ausar, guys. I was talking about the ENNEAD, and I'm giving a little context. I was showing this is from the Penn Museum. Again, And I'm going to be reading from this book right here. And I don't know, I appreciate y'all for bearing with me because I don't know what was popping up. I don't even know how that relates, but this is what I'm just going to go jump into the story. So again, I'm reading from page 113 and pardon whatever the asteroid, I don't know whatever that was, but the Matrix is real. But I'm going to begin reading from this book right here. And I'm going to be reading a hymn to Aten. So this is page 113, and this is Ausar. From the hieroglyphic texts of all periods of the dynastic history of Egypt, we learn that the god of the dead par excellence was the god whom the Egyptians called by the name, which may be tentatively transcribed as Ausar or Ausar, who is commonly known to us as Osiris. The oldest and simplest form of the name is the throne and the eye. That is to say, it is written by means of two hieroglyphs, the first of which represents the throne and the other an eye. But the exact meaning attached to the combination of the two pictures by those who first used them to express the name of the god and the signification of the name in the minds of those who invented it cannot be said. In the late dynastic period, the first syllable of the name appears to have been pronounced us, or us, and by punning it was made to have the meaning of the word Ausar, strength, might, power, and the like. And there is little doubt that the Egyptians at that time supposed the name of the god to mean something like the strength of the eye, i.e., the strength of the sun god Ra. This meaning may very well have suited their conception of the god Osiris, but it cannot be accepted as the correct signification of the name. For similar reasons, the suggestion that the name Ausar is connected with the Kemetic word for prince or chief, sir, cannot be entertained. It is probable that the second hieroglyph in the name Ausar is to be understood as referring to the great eye of heaven, i.e. Ra. But the connection of the first with it is not clear, and as we have no means of knowing what attributes were assigned to the god by his earliest worshippers, the difficulty is hardly likely to be cleared up. The throne or seat is the first sign in the name As, who is the female counterpart of Osiris, is the mate, and it is very probable that originally the same conception underlay both names. It is useless to argue that because the dynastic Egyptians at the late period of their history substituted the disk of Ra for the eye in the name Ausar, and because they addressed to the god Hyms, in which they identified him as the source of light and as Ra, therefore Ausar was originally a solar god, especially when we remember the childish plays upon words which the priests resorted to whenever they attempted to find etymologies for the names of their Natiru. In comparatively late times, Osiris was called Un-Nefer. In religious and mythological texts, the priests, like modern Egyptologists, tried to explain the name. The writer of a hymn quoted by Dr. Burgess derived the word from un, to open, to appear, to make manifest, and neferu, good things. When he wrote, thy beauty, or God goodness, maketh itself manifest in thy person to rouse the gods to life in thy name, Un-Nefer. It is clear that he was only making a play of words in the name Un-Nefer. And again, when he wrote, thou comest as the strength, Ausar of Ra, in thy name of Ausar. His object was rather to play with words on the name Ausar than to afford a trustworthy derivation of the name Osiris. We may note in passing that modern derivations and explanations of the name Un-Nefer are equally unsatisfactory. The truth of the matter seems to be that the ancient Egyptians knew just as little, so disrespectful, knew little as Un-Nefer Wonderful picture of Ausar, a Nefer. About the original meaning of the name Ausar as we do. And that they had no better means of obtaining information about it than we have. Passing now to the consideration of the original characteristics and attributes of Osiris, we find that the oldest religious texts known to us refer to him as the great god of the dead, and throughout them, it is tactily assumed that the reader will understand that he once possessed human form and lived upon earth, and that by means of some unusual power or powers, he was able to bestow upon himself after his death a new life, which he lived in a new body, in a region over which he ruled as king, and into which he was believed to be willing to admit all such as had lived a good and correct life upon earth, and had been buried with appropriate ceremonies under the protection of certain amulets, and with the proper recital of certain divine words, hekah, and words of power. The worship of Ausar is, however, very much older than these views, which it is clear could only belong to a people who had advanced to a comparatively high state of civilization and of mental development. The oldest authorities for the religious views of the ancient Egyptians are the pyramid texts, which are known to us from copies made in the 4th and 5th dynasties, that is to say, in the period of their highest development. Even at this remote time, the priests of Ennu had composed a system of theology which was supported by the authority of the king and his high officials, and there is no doubt that it was based upon older systems of religious thought and belief. Older, huh? What these may have been, it is useless to speculate. And all that is certain about the Halopian system is that while proclaiming the supremacy of their local god Tim or Ratem, its priests took care to include in it as many of the ancient provincial gods as possible, and to adopt, whenever they were able to do so, the ancient beliefs and traditions concerning them. Among such gods, Osiris held a very prominent place. In fact, he was, in respect of the dead and of the underworld, what Ra or Ratem was to the living and to this world, and in some passages he is referred to simply as God, without the addition of any name. No other god of the Egyptians was ever mentioned or alluded to in this manner, and no other god at any time in Egypt ever occupied exactly the same exalted position in their minds, or was thought to possess his peculiar attributes. Up to the present, no evidence has been deduced from the hieroglyphic texts which enable us to say specifically when Ausar began to be worshipped, or in what town or city his cult was first established. But the general information which we possess on this subject indicates that this god was adored as the great god of the dead by the dynastic Egyptians from first to last, and that the earliest dynastic centers of his worship were situated at Abydos in the south and at Tettu, Mendes, in the north. In proof of these statements, the following considerations are submitted. In a rubrics to one of the versions of the chapter of the Theban recension of the Book of the Dead, it is said that the chapter was found during the reign of Simti. That is to say, the chapter was revised and edited or rewritten or received some kind of literary treatment during the reign of the 5th king of the 1st dynasty. If we look at the version of the chapter to which this rubric is appended, we find the sentence, I am yesterday and I am today, and I have the power to be born a second time. I, the hidden soul, create the gods, and I give sepulchral meals to the divine beings in Amenti and in heaven. Osiris is mentioned by name in connection with his city, and Tim, Khepera, Shu, and Urti, goddesses, etc., Isis and Nephthys, the goddess, Ukert, the chief of Restal, Hehi, the Bennu, and the 4,600,200 spirits, who are 12 cubits high, are referred to, and we see that the whole of the religious and mythological systems of the Egyptians are made known to us by texts of later periods were in a well-developed state, even in the first dynasty. Confirmation of this fact is afforded by a small wooden plaque in the British Museum, which was made for a royal chancellor called Hameka, who flourished in the reign of Simti, the king in whose reign of the chapter of the Book of the Dead was found on the right-hand side of the plaque is a scene in which the king is represented in the act of dancing before a deity, who wears the crown of the south and is seated within a shrine set upon the top of some steps from various texts and scenes inscribed upon papyri and coffins, etc. Of the new empire, we know that Ausar was called the god on the top of the steps, and that he was depicted as a being seated in a shrine set on top of the flight of steps, and there is no doubt that the god before whom Simti danced was Osiris. Immediately below the scene on the plaque described above is a representation of a ceremonial boat, and if we compare it with certain vignettes in the Book of the Dead and elsewhere, we cannot fail to identify it as a well-known Hindu boat of the god Seker. Now, in the rubrics of the chapter already referred to, we are told that the chapter was found in the foundations of the shrine of Hindu, and thus the chapter of the god Hindu, the god of the Hindu boat, were in existence in the first dynasty, and they were in some specially connected with King Simti. If we are to believe an Egyptian tradition which was current under the 11th dynasty, about BC 1600, moreover, if the gods whom the Egyptians under the 4th and 5th dynasties declared to belong to the company of Osiris existed under the 1st dynasty, Osiris also must have existed, and the mention of the underworld by the name of Amenti or Amentet presupposes the existence of its god, the king, one of whose chief titles was Kenti Amenti. It is important to note also that on the plaque of Hameka, Osiris wears the white crown or the crown of the south, a fact which suggests that at the time when it was made, he was regarded as the god of the south. And to note that although in later times his cult was generally thought out throughout Kemet, he was always represented with the white crown on his head, and that it was one of his most characteristic attributes. The plaque of Hameka proves that a center of the Osiris cult existed in Abydos under the 1st dynasty, but we are not justified in assuming that the god was first worshipped there. And when we remember the frequent allusions to the pyramid text of Pe and Tep, the two divisions of the city of Per Uachet in the Delta, it is difficult not to think that even under the 1st dynasty, shrines had been built to honor Osiris at several places in Kemet. Dynastic tradition asserted that the head of Osiris was buried at Abydos, and for this reason, that city became the first importance to worshippers of the god. But we know that the local god of the nome was Anhur, and that his cult was thrust out by that of Osiris, who was adored under the title of Osiris Kenti Amenti. There must then have been a time when Osiris was brought to Abydos, and it is probably that he was introduced into that city from the north for the following reasons. In the pyramid texts, which are the oldest exponents of the religious system which made Osiris the supreme god of the dead, we have found frequent allusions to the food and drink which the deceased enjoys, and to the apparel wherein he is arrayed in the underworld. We find that he wears white linen garments and sandals, that he sits by a lake in the field of peace with the gods and partakes with them of the tree of life, and that he eats figs and grapes and drinks oil and wine, and that he lives on the bread of eternity and the beer of everlastingness. His bread was made of wheat, which Horus ate, and the flower children of Horus, Mesta, Happy, Tua Mutaf, and Keb Hes Anuf, appeased the hunger of his belly and the thirst of his lips. He abhorred the hunger which he could not satisfy, and he loathed the thirst which he could not slake, and one of the greatest delights of his existence was the knowledge that he was delivered from the power of those who would steal away his food. Another source of great joy was the power which he possessed of washing himself clean, and he and his double are represented as sitting down to eat bread together, each having washed himself clean. Yet another source of enjoyment was his journeying by water in a boat which was rowed by the mariners of the sun god Ra. All these and similar statements point clearly to the fact that the reward which Osiris bestowed after death upon his follower was a life which he led in a region where corn and wine and oil and water were abundant, and where circumstances permitted him to wear white linen robes and white sandals, and where he was not required to do work of any kind, and where he was able to perform his ablutions at will and to repose whensoever he pleased him to do so. He possessed his own estate or homestead, where he abode with his parents and presumably with his wife or wives and family, and his heavenly life was, to all intents and purposes, nothing but a duplicate of his life upon earth. In several passages in the pyramid text, we also have allusions to a life in which his enjoyments and delights were of a more spiritual character, but it is evident that these represent the beliefs and doctrines of the priests of Ra, who declared that the blessed fed upon light and were arrayed in light and became beings of light, and that the place wherein they lived was the boat of the sun god Ra, wherein they passed over heaven, and wherefrom their souls flew down to earth to visit the scenes of their former life. Thus, as far back as the period of the 5th dynasty texts belonging to two distinct cults, the cult of Osiris and the cult of Ra existed side by side, and no attempt appears to have been made to suppress either that of Ausar or that of Ra. In other words, the priests of Heliopolis had the good sense to allow the beliefs which were connected with the cult of Osiris to find expression in the great recension of religious texts which they promulgated about BC 3500. The cult of Osiris was very ancient and was universal, and they saw that the cult of Ra would not take its place in the minds of the Egyptians for a very considerable time, if ever. From what has been said above, it is quite clear that the followers of Ausar believed in the material heaven, and we have now to consider where that heaven was situated. In a passage in that text of Unas, line 191, the angels of Tehuti and the ancient ones and the great terrifier who cometh forth from the Nile and Apuat, who come forth from the tree Assert, are called upon to witness that the mouth of the king is pure, because he eats and drinks nothing except that upon which the gods live. The text says, ye have taken Unas with you, and he eateth what ye eat. He drinketh that which ye drink. He liveth as ye live. He dwelleth as ye dwell. He is powerful, as ye are powerful. And he saileth about as ye sail about. Thus the heaven where Unas lived after death was in some place where there were waters thereon. He could sail in a boat. The text continues, Unas hath netted fowl and fish with the net in Aru. Unas hath possession over the waters in Seket Heptet, and his offerings of meat and drink are among the gods. The waters of Unas is as wine, even as it is for Ra, and Unas goeth about heaven like Ra, and he traverseth heaven like Tehuti. From this extract, we see that the region where the heaven of Unas was situated is called Aru. The name having as a determinative a sign which is intended to represent a mass of waving reeds. In another place on line 412, the region is called Seket Ar and is identical with the Seket Aru and Seket An Aru of the later recensions of the Per Emheru. From a number of other passages, we find that Aru or Seket Aru was divided into a number of districts, the chief of which was called Seket Het Epet, field of offerings, or Seket Hatep, i.e. field of peace, and was presided over by the god Sekti Hatep. To the south of this region lay Seket Senu Hemu, field of the grasshoppers, and in it were the lakes of the Tuat and the lakes of the jackals. In the waters of Aru, or Seket Aru, Ra purified himself. Pepi the first, line 234, the pyramid text. And it was here that the deceased also purified himself before he began his heavenly life. Here also dwelt the three classes of beings who are called Akhimu Seku, Akhimu Betesh, and Akhimu Shesh Imal. That is to say, three classes of celestial bodies. And this is a picture from the book. I didn't cut it in half, but you can see it's this is the first half of it. If you get the book, it's actually not in color, so this is beautiful that this is the PDF is in color, so I love it. And this is in the British Museum, number 10,470, sheet 35. The material heaven, or beings who were thought never to diminish or melt away or decay. All the evidence as to the position of the region Aru shows that originally it was thought to be in the sky. But on the other hand, there are indications that it was entered from certain places in the delta. And among such was the region which contained the double city Ptah, or TETTU, or TETTU. Thus, in a passage in the text of Pepi the First, it is said, Pepi hath gone forth from Pe, and from being with the souls of Pe, and as he arrayed in the apparel of Heru, and in the garment of Tehuti, and as AUSET is before him, and Nephthys is behind him. Apuet openeth a way for him, and Shu beareth him up, and the souls of Anu make him to mount the steps, that they may present him to Nut, who stretcheth out her hands to him, even as they did for Osiris, when he arrived in the other world. O Haru F Haf Pepi hath journeyed on to Sekhet, he hath come forth from Uart, and since he is the body which hath come forth from God, and the Uraeus which hath come forth from Ra, he hath saileth on to Sekhet having the four spirits of Heru, Hap, Emset, Tuamutef, and Kebhes Hanuf with him, two on each side. This view of the position of Sekhet Aru is supported by several passages in the Theban recension of the Book of the Dead, and the pictures of the district, which its lakes and canals, which form the vignettes in the chapter, indicate that it was situated to the north of Egypt. The name Sekhet Aru appears to mean field of reeds or field of plants, and the idea conveyed by it was that of some very fertile region where farming operations could be carried on with ease and success, and where it would be possible to possess a large, well-kept and well-stocked homestead situated at no great distance from the Nile or from one of its main branches. In the text, the deceased prays, "Let me have the power to order my own fields in Tettu and my own growing crops in Anu. Let me live upon bread made of white grain, and let my beer be made from red grain. And may the persons of my father and mother be given unto me as guardians of my door, and for the ordering of my homestead. Let me be sound and strong, and let me have much room wherein to move, and let me be able to sit wheresoever I pleaseth. In the neighborhood of Tettu, then, the original Sekhet Aru was thought to be located, and in Tettu, the reconstruction of the dismembered body of Osiris took place, and it was here that the solemn ceremony of setting up his backbone was performed each year. The city of Tettu, or Tettau, here referred to, was the capital of the ninth nome of the Lower Egypt, called Per-Asar Neb Tettu by the Egyptians and Busiris by the Greeks. In a portion of it called Neb Sekert was preserved, according to one tradition, the backbone of Ausar, according to another, his jaws were there preserved. From what has been said above it, it is clear that the cult of Osiris is certainly as old as the period of the first dynasty, and that the oldest center of his worship was situated in the Delta. Everything which the texts of all periods record concerning him goes to show that he was an indigenous god of the Northeast Africa, and that his home and origin were possibly Libyan. We have no means of finding out what were the earliest conceptions about Osiris, but it seems that he was originally a water spirit, or the god of some arm of the Nile, or portion of the main body of the Nile, and that he developed later into a great water god. Dr. Burgess and M. Maspero both regarded him as a water god and rightly considered that he represented the creative and nutritive powers of the Nile stream in general and of the inundation in particular. The natural opponent of Osiris was Set, who typified death and destruction and who was the god par excellence of the desert. And in various forms and told in different ways, we have the narrative of the contest between the powers of life and death, and light and darkness, and decay and regeneration, which appears in the religious texts of every period. In fact, Set was the opponent in every way of Osiris, who, in the words of Dr. Burgess, typified the unbroken rejuvenations of immortal nature according to the divine will and according to the eternal laws. In the chapter of the Per Imheru, the deceased says, I am yesterday, I am today. And in answer to the question which follows, who then is this? It is said, yesterday is Osiris and today is Ra, on the day when he shall destroy the enemies of Nebuchadnezzar, and when he shall establish as prince and ruler his son Heru. Lines 15 and 18. This passage proves that although Ausar was the type of that which is gone or dead or the past, he possessed a power of regeneration, which expressed itself in the young Heru. In his aspect of a water god, Osiris was the personification of the falling Nile, or the Nile in winter, and of the night sun, and of the winter sun, but he was nevertheless the cause of the fertility of Egypt, which was personified as Isis, and was the father of the young Heru, who in due course grew into an Osiris and produced by means of Isis a young Horus to take his place, becoming thus the father of his father. Among a people like the Egyptians, it would not be very long before the annual rise and inundation and the fall of the Nile will be compared to the chief periods in the lives of men, and before the renewed rise of the Nile in the following year would be compared to man's immortality, which in Egypt was taken for granted from the earliest times, and that this is exactly what happened. The hieroglyphic texts supply abundant proof. Unfortunately, however, we find nowhere in the Egyptian works a connected narrative of the life, acts, and deeds and sufferings and death and resurrection of Osiris, the man god, but we possess a tolerably accurate account of them in Plutarch's AUSET, Osiris, the mythological history of AUSET and Ausar. By this writer is so important that an English rendering of it by M. Squire is given at the end of this chapter, but it will be necessary here to summarize the main facts in it in order that they may be compared with the hieroglyphic texts which refer to the subject. According to these, Osiris was the son of Re, the Egyptian Nut, the wife of Helios, the Egyptian Ra by Kronos, the Egyptian Seb. When Helios found that his wife was with child by Seb, he declared that she should not be delivered of her child in any month or any year. By a stratagem, Hyms, the Egyptian Tehuti, played at tables with Selene and won from her the 70th part of each day of the year, i.e. in all 5 days, which he added to the year. On the first of these 5 days, Osiris was born, and a voice was heard to proclaim that the Lord of creation was born. In due course, he became king of Egypt and taught men husbandry, and established a code of laws and made men worship the gods. When Egypt had become peaceful and prosperous, he set out to instruct the other nations of the world, and Isis ruled Egypt during his absence. On his return, Typhoon, the Egyptian Set, and his 72 comrades made Osiris to lie down in a chest, which was immediately closed by them, and cast into the Nile, which carried it down to its Tanaic mouths. When Isis heard what had befallen her husband, she cut off a lock of her hair as a sign of grief, and then set out to find his dead body. At length, she traced it to Byblos, whither it had been carried by the sea, and she found that the waves had gently laid it among the branches of a tamarisk tree. which had grown to a magnificent size and had enclosed the chest within its trunk. The byblos here referred to is not byblos in Phoenicia, but the papyrus swamps of Egypt, which are called in Egypt ATTON, a name meaning papyrus plants. The Greeks rendering of the Egyptian word for papyrus, and some copyists of the Greek text misunderstood the signification of the word in this passage and rendered it by the name of the city of Phoenicia. The king of the country, admiring the tree, had it cut down and made a pillar for the roof of his house. It is this tree trunk which is referred to by the hieroglyphic sign Tet, and which is continually used in the text with reference to Osiris. It has been said to represent a mason's table, but the 4 crossbars have nothing to do with such a thing, for they are intended to indicate the 4 branches of a roof tree of a house, which were turned to the 4 cardinal points. When Auset heard that the tree had been cut down, she went to the palace of the king, and through the good offices of the royal maidens, she was made a nurse to one of the king's sons. Instead of nursing the child in the ordinary way, Isis gave him her finger to suck, and each night she put him into the fire to consume his mortal parts, changing herself the while into a swallow and bemoaning her fate. On one occasion, the queen saw her son in the flames and cried out, and thus deprived him of immortality. Then Isis told the queen her story and begged for the pillar which supported the roof. This she cut open and took out the chest and her husband's body, and departed with them to Egypt. Having arrived there, she hid the chest and set out in quest of her son Horus. One night, however, Typhoon was out hunting by the light of the moon, and he found the chest, and recognizing the body, tore it into 14 pieces, which he scattered up and down throughout the land. When Isis heard of this, she took a boat made of papyrus, a plant abhorred by crocodiles, and sailing about, she gathered together the fragments of Osiris's body. Wheresoever she found one, she buried it and built a tomb over it. Meanwhile, Horus had grown up, and being encouraged in the use of arms by Osiris, who returned from the other world, he went out to do battle with Typhoon, the murderer of his father. The fight lasted some days, and Typhoon was made captive and was given over to the custody of Isis, who, however, set him free. Heru, in his rage, tore from her head the royal diadem, but Tehuti gave her a helmet in the shape of a cow's head. In 2 other battles fought between Horus and Typhoon, Horus was the victor. The great battle between Horus and Typhoon took place, we are told, in the 5th Salier Papyrus, on the 26th day of the month, Tehuti. They first of all fought in the form of 2 men, but they afterwards changed themselves into 2 bears, and they passed 3 days and 3 nights in this form. From the above summary, it is clear that in Plutarch's time, the Egyptians believed that Osiris was the son of a god, that he lived a good life upon earth and ruled as a wise and just king, that he was slain by the malice of evil men, that his body was mutilated, and that his wife Isis collected his limbs, which had been scattered throughout Egypt by Set or Typhoon, and that Osiris was by some means obtained a new life in the next world, where he reigned as God and king. The hieroglyphic texts contain abundant testimony that the statements of Plutarch are substantially correct, and from first to last, Osiris was to the Egyptians the god-man who suffered and died and rose again, and reign eternally in heaven, they believed that they would inherit eternal life just as he had done, provided that what was done for him by the gods was done for them. And they made use of amulets and magical texts of all kind and performed ceremonies connected with sympathetic magic in order that they might compel Osiris and the gods who had brought about his resurrection, Tehuti, the Lord of divine words, the scribe of the Neteru, and Isis, who made use of the words with which Tehuti supplied her, and Heru, and his companion gods who performed the symbolic ceremonies which were effective in producing the reconstitution of the body of Osiris and its revivification, to act on their behalf even as they had acted for the god. The species of the amulets used were constant, and they appear to have been 16 in number, viz. 4 figures of the children of Heru, each with his characteristic head, 4 lapis lazuli, tet pillars, 2 bulls, a figure of Heru, a figure of Tehuti, 2 carnelian tet pillars, and 2 lapis lazuli uachets. According to Plutarch, the number of portions into which Set tore the body of Osiris was 14, but the hieroglyphic texts give at times 14 and at others 16. The cities and sanctuaries wherein these were buried are, number 1, Ament in Coptos, Aab in Elephantine, and Root F in Heracleopolis Magna, number 4, Kusei, number 5, Heliopolis, number 6, at Ament in Sama Bahutet, Lower Egypt, Leto Pelopolis, number 8, Pa Tuhin in Sais, May Tef F in Hermopolis of Lower Kemet, Artribis, 11, Ak, number 12, Ab in the Libyan Nome, number 13, Het Serah in the city of Netert, number 14, Apis. In the late period of Egyptian history, i.e. in the Greco-Roman times, the sanctuaries of Osiris were 42 in number. In other words, each nome possessed its central shrine of Osiris, which was called a Serapeum, or the place where Serapis was worshipped. But this happened because Osiris Kent Amenti was identified with Serapis, who was not the god Osiris himself, but only a dead Apis bull, which had become an Ausar. It has already been said that in some lists, the sanctuaries of Osiris are stated to be 16 in number, but it is tolerably certain that the true number is 14 because in the inscriptions at Dendara, which refer to the mysteries of Osiris, the statue of Sekar Osiris, which plays such a prominent part in the ceremonies performed there, was made up of 14 pieces, although 16 pieces are sometimes enumerated. The 16 numbers of the body of Osiris are his head, the soles of his feet, his bones, his arms, his heart, his interior, his tongue, his eye, his fists, his fingers, his back, his ears, his loins, his body. Osiris the man god, his head with the face of a ram and his hair. All the evidence of the subject now available goes to prove, as the paragraphs above show, that the early Egyptians believed that Osiris was a man god who was murdered and whose body was mutilated, and that the various members of his body were reconstituted. And we know from a very interesting text at Dendara that during the month of Keoak, a number of festivities were celebrated at all the chief sanctuaries of Osiris in Egypt, and that elaborate ceremonies were performed in them in commemoration of every event which took place in the life, death, and resurrection of the god. In this text, the use of the various sanctuaries are described, and detailed instructions are given for the making of the funeral chest, and of the model of the god which was to be buried in the coffin, and of the incense, and of the amulets, and of the 14 divine members, and of all the materials, etc., which were employed in the ceremonies. On the day of Keok, the festival of the plowing of the earth, and the festival of the Ptah was celebrated on the day great. Festival of Pert. On the 8th day of the festival of Osiris, Kent Amente, and on the 11th day, the model of the god of the preceding year was taken out from its place and buried suitably, and the new Osiris was embalmed in the sanctuary. On the last day of the month of Tet was set up in TETTU, because on this day the divine members of Osiris were brought. The new Osiris remained without burial for 7 days because of the tradition which declared that the god had remained for 7 days in the womb of his mother Nut when she was with child. In connection with the ceremonies of the great sanctuaries in Dendara, 34 papyrus boats were employed, and these were lit up with 365 lights or lamps. The gods of Mendes with Anubis occupied 1 boat, and Isis, Nephthys, Heru, and Tehuti each had a boat. The remaining 29 boats were dedicated to the following gods: Mesta, Happy, Tuamutef, Kebasanunef, Sahek, Amur-Ar, Matef, Arin F. Tchetsef, Mtet, Neferhat, As-Sin, Ari Techer, Sim, Her F, Sint, Ari, Ma'at F. Teshef, Sebu, Seba, Kasin, Herkes, Neter Ba, Katet, Kinti F, Aker Her M, Unut F, Nechet, Asbu, Per M Kent Tet, Erta Nef Nept, Tesher Maati, Kint Het Anes, Ma'a M Kef, NFM Heru Saket. The above facts prove that in the Ptolemaic period, the views which were held generally about Osiris were substantially the same as those which were in vogue in the times when the pyramid texts were composed, and it is clear that the cult of Osiris was widespread even in the 5th dynasty, or about 3500 BC. From the pyramid texts, we learn that the dead kings were already identified with Osiris, and that Osiris was identified with the dead sun god. But we have no means of knowing when he was merged with Sekka, the god of the Memphite underworld. The Helopian priests declared that he was the son of Seb and Nut, but it is much to be regretted that they did not preserve for us the genealogy of the god according to the priests of the pre-dynastic period. The festivals which were celebrated in the month of Keok were no doubt founded upon very ancient tradition, but the elaboration of detail given in the text at Dendara, to which reference has already been made, does not suggest a primitive antiquity, although it shows how deeply seated was the cult of Osiris in the hearts of the people. The numerous aspects under which the god was worshipped also show that some of the original conceptions of the attributes of the god were forgotten in comparatively early days, both by foreigners and Egyptians, and it is this fact which explains how he came to be identified with the Greek god Dionysus. The aspects of Osiris were nearly as numerous as those of Ra. Hence, we find him identified with the sun and moon, and with the great creative and regenerative powers of nature. And he was at once the symbol of rejuvenation and resurrection, and of life of every sort and kind, which has the power of renewing itself. We must now consider the various forms in which Osiris is represented on the monuments and in papyri. The common form of the god is that of a sahu or mummy who wears a beard and has a white crown, a tef on his head, and a menat hanging from the back of his neck. In a scene reproduced by Lanzone, he appears in a group with the hawk god Seker, the beetle god Keperer, and the goddess Shenet, and has two forms, i.e. Osiris, Lord of Kut, and Kent Amente, and in another scene he appears in the form of Tet. This is a picture of Osiris wearing the white crown and Menet and holding the scepter. A crook and a flail. Before him are 4 children of Heru, and behind him is his wife Isis. Forms of Osiris. The pillar and is called Osiris Tet and stands at the head of a braer on which lies the god Seker in mummied form. On a stellar at Turin, Osiris appears in mummy form, seated and holding in his hand the scepter and the flail or whip. On his head is the white crown with plumes, to which the name Atef is usually given. His titles are Osiris Kenti Amentet, Unnefer, Lord of Techechar, the great god, king of the living. Behind him are seated Ptah Sekri, Lord of the hidden chest, Enpu, dweller in the city of embalming, Horus, son of Isis and Hathor. As a form of Kenemu Ra, he has the head of a ram, and horns of which are surmounted by a solar disk and by 4 knives. A common symbol of the gods is, i.e., the box which contained the head and hair of Osiris and which was preserved at Abydos, where these relics were buried. Elsewhere, we see the body of the god bent round backwards in such a way as to form the region of the Tuat or underworld. Sometimes the god is seated on a throne which is supported on the back of a monster serpent that rests at the top of the mythological flight of steps at Hen and Shu. He is accompanied by Ma'at, Heru, son of Isis, Tehuti, Heka, who holds a serpent in each hand, and the snake-headed goddess, Heptet. The exact part which this last name deity played in connection with Osiris is unknown, but it is certain that it was of considerable importance and that the goddess assisted in bringing about his resurrection. Heptet has the body of a woman with the head of a bearded snake. On her head is a pair of horns, which are surmounted by a solar disk, the Atef crown, the urea with disc and horns. In each hand she holds a knife. On the walls of the temple of Dendara is preserved a very interesting group of scenes connected with the story of death and resurrection of the god, which may be briefly described. Thus, Osiris lying on his stomach, on his braer beneath which are his 4 crowns. He is called Osiris, beloved of his father, the king of the gods, the lord of life, Osiris. In front of Osiris is Heru, who presents to him a lotus flower. Osiris, laying on his funeral bier, at the head stands Nephthys, and at the foot Isis. Osiris, phallic, and wearing the Atef crown, lying on his bier. On the head of the bier is a hawk with outstretched wings, and behind it stands AUSET. On the foot is a similar hawk, and behind it stands Heru. And this is Anubis ministering to Osiris. On his bier at the head kneels Nephthys, and at the feet Isis. Very beautiful picture here of the Neteru. Funeral of Osiris. Son of Isis, above is the soul of Osiris. Below the bier are two crowns, a tunic, and a cap. Osiris, naked and beardless, laying on his bier, at the head of which is a statue of Isis, and at the foot a statue of Nephthys. Number 5, Osiris, naked and beardless, laying on his bier, at the head of which stands Isis, who is addressing the god. Beneath the bier are figures of 4 children, Heru, Mesta, Happy, Tuamutef, and Kebu Sanuf, who resides representing the gods of the 4 cardinal points, may here be considered as personifications of the 4 large internal organs of the body. Osiris, naked, lying upon his bier, over the foot of which is the vulture goddess Uachet, and over the head the Uraeus goddess Nekhepet. Osiris in mummified form, lying on his bier beneath a funeral chest over which a hawk stretches out its wings. Number 8, Osiris of Behutet, laying on his bier with Nephthys at his head and Isis at his feet. Number 9, Osiris at Ptah, Kinti, lying on his bier with a hawk goddess at his head and a vulture goddess at the foot. Number 10, Osiris of Hap, wearing the Atef crown, lying face downward on his bier, beneath which are a number of crowns and caps of the god. Number 11, Osiris on his bier in the Meskin chamber, with the 4 funeral vases beneath. Osiris Ithaphalic, mummified and beardless, lying on his bier. He is watched over by 3 hawks, and by Isis, who stands at the head, and by a frog-headed form of the god Heru. Beneath the bier are the ape-headed god Art, and the 2 snake goddesses, one of which is called Hertept, and an ibis-headed god, Sekar Osiris of Mendes, a beardless, lying up on his bier with Anubis in attendance and holding in his hands a vase of unguent and an instrument used in embalming. Sekar Osiris of Mendes, in the form of a hawk-headed mummy, lying upon his bier, beneath which grows 3 small trees. 15, Sekar Osiris, naked and bearded and wearing the Atef crown, lying upon his bier, beneath which grow 3 trees. Number 16, Ptah Sekar Ausar of Memphis, in mummified form and bearded, laying upon his bier, at the head of which on a pedestal stands a figure of Isis. The bier is placed within a funeral chest, the pillars of which are in the form of Tet. On the right is Ausar Tet, the Holy One, in TETTU, in the form of a Tet pillar, which is provided with human hands and arms. Above it appear the head of Osiris and the scepter and the flail, or whip. Has Osiris on his breast. Beneath are the canopic jars. Number 17, Osiris beardless and wearing the white Atef crown and plumes in the act of raising himself from his breast at the command of Heru Nechet Tef F. Number 18, Osiris Nefer in mummified form, laying on his breast, at the head of which grows the Persea tree. Above the upper branches stands a soul in the form of a man-headed hawk. Number 19, Osiris bearded, laying on his breast, which rests within an elaborately ornamented funeral chest. Beneath the breast are a number of helmets, caps, etc., belonging to the god. Through one end of the chest, Heru Nechet Tef thrusts his lance and touches the face of Osiris with it, with the view, presumably, of affecting the opening of the mouth. Ceremony scene connected with the resurrection of Osiris. Number 20, Osiris ithyphallic and bearded in mummified form, laying upon his bier, upon the feet and his body hover two hawks. At the head kneels Hathor, mistress of Amentet, who weepeth for her brother, and at the front is a frog, symbol of the goddess Heket. Beneath the bier are an ibis-headed god holding the Uachet, two serpents, and the god Bes. It is interesting to note that the frog-headed goddess Heket, who was the form of Hathor, was connected by the Christians with the Christian resurrection. You don't say. In proof of this may be cited the lamp described by Signor Lanzone, whereupon he tells us is a figure of a frog, and the legend of I am the resurrection. Number 20, Osiris bearded, ithyphallic, in mummified form and wearing the white crown, lying on his breast, by the side of which stand Anubis, jackal-headed, and Heket, frog-headed. At the head stands Heru Nechet Tef in the form of a hawk, and Nephthys kneels. At the front kneels Isis. Osiris bearded, wearing the white crown with plumes, and holding in his hand the scepter and flail or whip, raising himself up on his knees from his bier, which is enclosed within the funeral chest. Beneath the bier are most of the crowns of the god. Beside it stands Isis. Osiris raising up out of the basket, which rests upon a pedestal. Behind him stands Isis with her wings stretched out on both sides of him, and before him is a bearded god who presents to him life. On the right is a second scene in which the god is seen kneeling within the boat of the double tet, wherein are a papyrus plant and a lotus plant, the emblems of the south and north respectively. The boat rests upon the sledge, the supports of which are made in the form of inverted lotus flowers, which are well-known types of the dawn and renewed life. The title of the god here is Osiris Seka, Lord of the funeral chest at Abydos. The two commonest titles of Osiris are Kinti Amenti, Nefer, and as such he holds in his hands one or two scepters and the whip or flail, and wears the Atef crown. Sometimes he appears as a man with a large mouth and eyes and nose, and with a tet surmounted by a disc, plumes, horns, urea, etc., issuing from his head. He once appeared in the form of Ptah, pouring out water from a libation vase for a deceased person who kneels before him, and once he appears with the head of the BENNU. King Seti I addressing Osiris Kent Amentet. Beautiful picture there. Resurrection of Osiris. Some scenes of Osiris appear as a god of vegetation, and in one instance, the god is represented in mummified form and wearing the Atef crown, and from his body, a row of plants is seen growing. In another, he is represented by a small mound of earth, which is called Osiris, and from which 4 trees grow. Above the mound is a large serpent with the white crown upon its head, and 2 small serpents growing out from its body. On the right are, number 1, a ram-headed god holding a serpent, and the serpent Keberheb. On the left are the ram-headed god holding a serpent and a feather. The Osiris ceremonies varied in different places according as the god was identified with local gods, but in all great religious centers, Osiris, under one name or another, possessed his own sanctuary. Thus, as Dr. Birch has pointed out, in northern Nubia, Osiris was known as Khenemu, in Apollinolis and Dendara as An, in Thebes as Khenemu Unk, in Coptos as Amsu Heru Ka Nek, in Diospolis Parva as Sekhem, in Lycopolis as Sekhem Tau, in Antipolopolis as Mao, in Kusay as Ab, in Memphis as Seka, in Sinopolis and Oxyrhynchos as Anubis, in Heracleopolis as Ka-Hetep, and Heru Shefi in the Libyan nome of the Kenti, and the Libyan known as Kenti Amenti, in Harupolis as Unk and Tim, in Busiris as Tet or Tettu, in Helopolis as Sir-Ah, and in other places in the Delta as Fintet Unk, Heru Ap Shata. In the chapters of the Book of the Dead have complete lists of the forms and shrines of Osiris, and as they are of great importance for forming the right idea of the universality of the cult of Osiris in Egypt. It will be found in 2 versions at the end of this section on the great god of Helopolis. We have now traced the history of Osiris from the time when he was a river or water god and of only quite local importance up to the period when he was worshipped, reached from the north to the delta and to the Nubian known at Elephantine, and he had become in every sense of the word the national god of Egypt. We have now to consider Osiris in this chapter of the god and judge of the dead, and as a symbol of the resurrection, and the best source upon which we can draw for information on this subject is the Per Heru, the Book of the Dead. In this work, Osiris is held to be the greatest of the gods, and it is he who is the judge of men after death, and he is the arbiter of their future destiny. He attained this exalted position because he was believed to have been once a human being who had died and had been dismembered, but his limbs had been reconstituted and he had become immortal. The most remarkable thing about him was that his body had never decayed like the bodies of ordinary men, and neither putrefaction nor worms ever acquired power over it or caused it to diminish in the least degree. It is true that it was embalmed by Horus and Anubis and Isis, who carried out with the greatest care, the exactitude, all the prescriptions which have been ordered by Tehuti, and who performed their work so thoroughly well that the material body which Osiris possessed on this earth served as the body for the god in the world beyond the grave. So only after it had undergone some mysterious change, which was brought about by the words of power which these gods said, and by the ceremonies which they performed. A very ancient tradition declared that the god Tehuti himself had acted the part of priest for Osiris, and although the Egyptians believed that it was his words which brought the dead god back to life, they were never able wholly to free themselves from the idea that the series of magical ceremonies which they performed in connection with the embalmment and burial of the dead produced most beneficial results for their deceased friends. The compositions which form the chapters of the Book of the Dead are declared to have been written by Tehuti, and they were assumed to be identical with those which this god pronounced on behalf of Osiris. The ceremonies which were performed by the priests at the recital of such compositions were held to be identical with those which Heru and Anubis performed for the Lord of Life. And if the words were said by duly appointed and properly qualified priests in a suitable tone of voice, whilst the ministrants and libationers performed the sacred ceremonies according to the rubrics, it was held to be impossible for Osiris to refuse to grant the deceased eternal life and to admit him into his kingdom. It may be argued that the words and ceremonies were the all-important factors of the resurrection of man and of his eternal life, but this was not the case, for the Egyptians only regarded them as means to be used with care and diligence. It was Osiris, the God-man himself, who had risen from the dead and was living in a body perfect in all its members, who was the cause of the resurrection. Osiris could give life after death because he had attained to it, and he could give eternal life to the souls of men in their transformed body because he had made himself incorruptible and immortal. Moreover, he was himself eternity and everlastingness, and it was he who made men and women to be born again. The new birth was the birth into the new life of the world, which is beyond the grave and everlasting. Osiris could give life because he was life. He could make man to rise from the dead because he was the resurrection. But the priesthood taught in all periods of Egyptian history that it was necessary to endeavor to obtain the favor of the god by means of magical and religious words and ceremonies. From the earliest times, the belief in the immortality of Osiris existed, and the existence of the dead after death was bound up with that of the god. Thus, in the text of Unas, line 240, it is said of the king to Tim, O Tim, this is thy son Osiris. Thou hast given him his sustenance, and he liveth. He liveth, and Unas liveth. He dieth not, and this Unas dieth not. He is not destroyed, and this Unas shall not be destroyed. If he begetteth not, this Unas shall not beget. If he begetteth, this Unas shall beget. In the text, nearly 2,000 years later, the deceased Ani is made to ask Tim, the head of the company of the gods of Heliopolis, how long have I to live? And he replied, thou shalt exist for millions of years, a period of millions of years. Now, Tim was identified with Ra, and Ra at the time when this text was written was held to be the father of Osiris. And to all intents and purposes, the question of the scribe Ani was addressed to Osiris. It has already been said that the great source of information about Osiris and his cult is contained in the Book of the Dead, which may be termed the Gospel of Osiris, wherein the god is made to point out to man the necessity for leading a pure and good life upon earth, and to instruct him in the words and deeds which will enable him to attain eternal life. And we must now briefly describe the relations which were believed to exist between this God of truth and life and the deceased. In the accompanying plate, which contains the famous judgment scene of the Book of the Dead as contained in the papyrus of ENNEAD in the British Museum, we have a representation of Osiris in his capacity as the judge of the dead, and a description of it will explain the views of the ancient Kemetians on the judgment of the souls of the dead. From certain passages and allusions in the pyramid text, it is clear that the ancient Egyptians believed that the souls of the dead, and perhaps also their bodies, were judged, and the place of their judgment seems to have been situated in the sky. No details of a manner in which it was performed are given, but it seems as if the judgment consisted of the weighing of words. Ucha-metu. That is to say, the weighing of actions, for the word metu means deed, action, as much as word. Like the Hebrew, the weighing of words or actions was carried out by the means of a pair of scales, mekait, which was prescribed over by Tehuti, who from very remote days was known as Ap-Rehu, i.e. judge of the two combatant gods. That is to say, judge of Horus and Set, and as Ap-Sennu, judge of the two brothers. Tehuti, however, only watched the balance when words were being tried in it on behalf of Osiris. At least this was the view in later times. The Egyptians, having once conceived the existence of a balance in the underworld, proceeded to represent it pictorially, and as a result we have the vignette of the judgment scene, a pair of scales similar to those which they were acquainted in daily life. They were too logical to think that words or even actions could be weighed in a material balance, and they therefore represented the weighing of the material heart, from which they declared all thoughts and actions proceeded, and sometimes the whole body of a man who is to be judged was placed by the artist in one pan of the scales. They have moreover in very early times arrived at the conception of right, truth, law, and rectitude, all of which they expressed by the word ma'at. And it was against the emblem of ma'at, the feather, that they weighed either the heart or the whole body. Why the feather was chosen as a symbol of ma'at instead of the usual object, it is impossible to say, and this fact suggests that all of the views which the Egyptians held about the weighing of the heart have not yet been understood. As the judgment scene stands, it represents a mixture of different views and opinions which belong to different periods. But it seems impossible to doubt that at some remote time they believed in the actual weighing of a portion of the physical body of a man as part of the ceremonial of judgment. The judgment of each individual seems to have taken place soon after death, and annihilation or everlasting life, and bliss to have been decreed at once for the souls of the dead. There are no sufficient grounds for assuming that the Egyptians believed either in the general resurrection or in the protracted punishment. How far they thought that the prayers of the living for the dead were efficacious is in arresting or modifying the decree of doom cannot be said, but very considerable importance was attached by them to funeral prayers and ceremonies in all ages, and there is no doubt that they were the outcome of the firm belief that they would result in the salvation and well-being of the souls of the dead. The judgment scene as given in the papyrus of ENNEAD may be thus described. The scribe of ENNEAD and his wife, TETTU, enter the hall of Ma'ati, wherein the heart, symbolic of the conscience, is to be weighed in the balance against the feather, emblematic of right and truth. In the upper register are the gods who sit in judgment and who form the great company of the gods of Heliopolis, to whom are added Hathor, Hu, and Sa. On the standard of the balance sits the dog-headed ape, the companion of Tehuti, the scribe of the gods, and the god Anubis, the jackal-headed, examines the pointer to make certain that the beam is exactly horizontal and that the tongue of the balance is in its proper place. On the left of the balances are Shai, the god of luck or destiny, and Meskin, or the rectangular object with a human head which rests upon the pylon and is commonly thought to be connected with the place of birth. Meskenet, the goddess of the funeral chamber, and Renunet, the goddess of nursing, the soul of Ani in the form of a human-headed hawk standing upon a pylon. The lines of hieroglyphs which appear above the figures of Ani and his wife contain a version of the Book of the Dead in which the deceased addresses his heart and prays that the sovereign chiefs may not oppose his judgment and that it may not be separated from him in the presence of the keeper of the balance. The sovereign chiefs here referred to are Mesta, happy, Tua Matutef, and Kebla Sanutnef, the children of Heru. After the heart has been weighed, Tehuti, being satisfied with the result, addresses the gods, saying, the heart of Osiris Ani hath indeed been weighed, and his soul hath borne witness concerning him, or it hath been found true by trial in the great balance. No evil hath been found in him. He hath not wasted the offerings in the temples. He hath not done harm by his deeds, and he hath uttered no evil report whilst he was upon earth. In answer to these words, the gods ratify the sentence of Tehuti, and they declare that he is holy and righteous, and that he hath not sinned against them. Therefore the monster Amenmet, or the eater of the dead, who is seen standing behind Tehuti, shall not prevail over him. And they further decree that he shall have a homestead of Seket Hepetu forever, and that offering shall be made to him, and that they shall have the power to appear before Osiris at will. In the second part of the scene, Horus, the son of Isis, leads Ani by the hand into the presence of Osiris, who is enthroned within a shrine in the form of a funeral chest. Osiris has upon his head the Atef crown, and he holds his usual emblems of authority. Beautiful judgment scene from the Per Em Heru. Osiris as a judge. From his neck hangs the manet, i.e. the amulet which is associated with joy and pleasure. The title of the god is Osiris, Lord of Everlastingness. Behind him stand Isis and Nephthys. Before him, standing on a lotus flower, are the four children of Heru, the four gods of the cardinal points. The first, Mesta, has the head of a man. The second, Hapi, the head of an ape. The third, Tua Mutef, the head of a jackal. And the fourth, Keb Senunef, the head of a hawk. In some papyri, the lotus on which these gods stand is seen to have its roots in a lake or stream of water, which flows from under the throne of Osiris. Near the lotus hangs the skin of a pied bull, which was sacrificed at the beginning of that portion of the funeral ceremony, when two gazelles and a goose were also slain as sacrifices. The side of the throne of Osiris is painted to resemble that of a funeral chest. The roof of the shrine is supported on pillars with lotus capitals and is surmounted by a figure of Horus, Sep, and Horus, Sekar, and by rows of Uriah. The pedestals on which the shrine rests is in the form of the hieroglyphic, which is emblematic of Ma'at, right and truth. Before the shrine is a table of offerings, by the side of which On a reed mat kneels Ani, with his right hand raised in adoration. In the left hand he holds the Kep scepter. He wears on his head a whitened wig and the so-called comb, the signification of which is unknown. In his speech, Horus, the son of Isis, says, I have come to thee, O Unnefer, and I have brought unto thee the Osiris Ani. His heart is righteous, and it hath come forth innocent from the balance. It hath not sinned against any god or any goddess. Tehuti hath weighed it accordingly to the decree pronounced unto him by the company of the gods, and it is most true and righteous. Grant that cakes and ale may be given unto him, and let him appear in the presence of Osiris, and let him be like unto the followers of Horus forever and ever. The scribe Ani then makes his prayer to Osiris in the following words: Behold, I am in thy presence, O Lord of Amentet. There is no sin in my body. I have not spoken that which is not true knowingly, nor have I done aught with a false heart. Grant thou that I may be like unto those favored ones who are in thy following, and that I may be an Osiris, greatly favored of the beautiful God and beloved of the Lord of the world, who am indeed a royal scribe who loveth thee. Ani, Makaru, before the god Osiris. The reply of the god Osiris is not recorded, but we may assume that the petition of Ani was granted by him, and that he ratified the decision of the gods in respect of the habitation of the Sekhet Aru. Thus Ani was free to pass into all the various regions of the dominion of Osiris and to enter into everlasting life and happiness. In the description of the judgment scene given above, reference is made to the eater of the dead, and in connection with it must be observed that he was supposed to devour straightway the souls of all those who were condemned in the judgment halls of Osiris, and that from one point of view the punishment of the wicked consisted of annihilation. Above, too, it has been said that Ani became Makaru before Osiris, when once his heart had been weighed and had not been found wanting. Egyptologists have investigated the meaning of these words very carefully, but have not agreed as to their meaning. As a result, Makaru has been rendered victorious, triumphant, justified, truth-speaking, truthful, true of voice, mighty of word or speech. Their true meaning seems to be he whose words is right and true, i.e., whose word is held to be right and true by those to whom it is addressed, and therefore whatsoever is ordered or commanded by the person who is declared in the judgment hall to be Makaru is straightway performed by the beings or things who are commanded or ordered. Before a man who is Makaru, every door in the underworld opened itself, and every hostile power, animate or inanimate, was made to remove itself from his path. Passing now from the consideration of Osiris as the king and judge of the dead, we must briefly refer to the beautiful hymns to the god which are found in the Book of the Dead and elsewhere. First among these must be mentioned that very remarkable composition which is inscribed on the stele in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, and which was first made known by Shabazz. The text is in the form of a hymn addressed to Osiris, but it is of unique importance in that it contains a proof of the substantial accuracy of the account of the life and death of Osiris and of the birth of Horus given by Plutarch. After enumerating the various great shrines of Osiris in Egypt and ascribing great praise to this god and summarizing his beneficent acts, an allusion is made to his death and to the search which Isis made for his body. This goddess, the sister and wife of Osiris, was a skilled worker of miracles, and she knew the words of power, and how to utter them in such a way that the greatest effect might result from them. In the form of a bird, she sought her brother's body ceaselessly and went about over the face of the earth, uttering cries and moans, and she did not desist from her quest until she found it. When she saw that he was dead, she produced light with her feathers and air by the beating of her wings, and then by means of the words of power which she had obtained from Tehuti, she roused Osiris from his state of helplessness and inactivity, and united herself to him, and became with child by him, and in due course brought forth her son Heru in a lonely place unknown to any. The hymn in which the passage occurs is so important that a rendering of it is given here. The hieroglyphic text with interlinear transliteration and translation will be found at the end of this section. I read all of that to give context to read this. This is the hymn to Osiris, Anuk Ausar. Homage to thee, O Osiris, the Lord of eternity, the King of the gods. Thou hast many names, whose forms of coming into being are holy, whose attributes are hidden in the temples, whose double is most august or venerated. Thou art the chief of TETTU, the great one who dwelleth in Shechem, the Lord to whom praises are offered in the nome of Aten, the chief of the divine food of Anu, and the Lord who is commemorated in the hall of twofold right and truth. Thou art the hidden soul, the Lord of Elephantine, the Holy One in the city of the White Wall, Memphis, the soul of Ra, and thou art of his own body. Offerings and oblations are made to thy satisfaction in Sutton Hen. Praise in abundance is bestowed upon thee, Nert, and thy soul hath been exalted as Lord of the great house of Kenemu. Thou art he who is greatly feared in Shashhetep, the Lord of eternity, the chief of Abydos. Thy seat extendeth into the land of holiness, and thy name is firmly established in the mouth of mankind. Thou art the substance of which were made to two lands. Thou art Tim, the divine food of the doubles. Thou art the chief of this company of the gods. Thou art the operative and beneficent spirit among the spirits. Thou drawest thy waters from the abyss of heaven. Thou bringest along the north wind at eventude, and the air for thy nostrils to the satisfaction of thy heart. Thy heart germinateth, thou produceth the light for divine food. The height of heaven and the starry gods obey thee. Thou openest the great pylons of heaven, and thou art he unto whom praises are sung in the southern heaven, and to whom adorations are performed in the northern heaven. The stars which never set are under the seat of thy face, and the stars which never rest are thy habitations. And unto thee offerings are made according to the decree of the god Seb. The company of the gods sing praises unto thee, and the starry gods of the underworld bow down with their faces to the earth before thee. The ends of the earth prostrate themselves before thee, and the bounds of heaven make supplication unto thee when they see thee. Those who are among the holy ones are in awe of thee, and the two lands in their length and breadth ascribe praises unto thee when they meet thy majesty, O thy glorious master, thou Lord of masters, who art endowed with divine rank and dignity, who art established in thy rule, thy beautiful Shechem of the company of the Netiru, who art pleasant of face and art beloved by him that looketh upon thee. Thou puttest thy fear in all the lands, and by reason of love for thee all men proclaim thy name as being above that of every name. All mankind make offerings unto thee, O thou Lord, who art commemorated in heaven and in earth, and who art greatly praised in the Ak festival, and the two lands with one consent cry out unto thee with cries of joy. O thou great one, thou chief of thy divine brethren, thou prince of the company of the gods, thou establisher of Ma'at throughout the two lands, who placeth thy son upon the great throne of his father Seb, the darling of his mother Nut. O thou great one of twofold strength, thou hast cast down Seba, thou hast slain thine enemy, and thou hast set thy fear in thy foe. Thou bringest together remote boundaries. Thou art firm of heart. Thy 2 feet are lifted up. Thou art the hair of Seb and of the sovereignty of the two lands, who hath seen thy power and hath given command to thee to lead the two lands by thy hand until the end of time. Thou hast made the earth in thy hand, and its waters, and its air, and its green herb, and all its cattle, and all its birds, and all its fishes, and all its reptiles, and all its 4-footed beasts. The desert is thine by right, O son of Nut, and the two lands are content to make him to rise up upon the throne of his father like Ra. Thou risest in the horizon, thou givest light through the darkness, thou makest light to spread abroad from thy plumes, and thou floodest with light the two lands like the disk at the beginning of sunrise. Thy crown pierceth heaven, thou art a brother of the starry gods, and the guide of every god, and thou dost work by decree and word. O thou favored one of the company of the Netiru, who art greatly beloved by the lesser company of the Netiru. Thy sister protected thee, and she drove away thy foes, and she warded off from thee evil hap, and uttered the words of power with all the skill of her mouth. Her tongue was trained, and she committed no fault in utterance, and she made her decree and her words to have effect. AUSET, the mighty one, the avenger of her brother, she sought thee without weariness. She went round about through this land in sorrow, and she set not to the ground her foot until she had found thee. She made light with her feathers, she made air to come into being with her wings, and she uttered cries of lamentations at the prayer of her brother. She stirred up from the state of inactivity him whose heart was still. She drew from him his seed, she made an heir, she suckled the babe in solitariness, and the place wherein she reared him is unknown, and his hand is mighty within the house of Seb. The company of the Netiru rejoice and are glad at the coming of Heru, the son of Ausar, whose heart established and whose word taketh effect, the son of AUSET, and the heir of Ausar, the assessors of Ma'at, gathered together unto him, and with them are assembled the company of the Netiru, and Nebuchadnezzar himself, and the lords of Ma'at. Verily, those who repulse faults rejoice in the house of Seb to bestow the rank of Ausar upon its Lord, to whom is by right all sovereignty. The voice of Heruth hath found the power of Ma'at. The rank of his father hath been given unto him, and he hath come forth, crowned by the command of Seb. He hath received the scepter of the two lands, and the white crown is established upon his head. He judgeth the earth according to his plans, and heavens and earth are open before his face. He layeth his commands upon men and spirits, and upon the Pat and Himmaent beings, and Egypt, and in Ha Nebu, and all the regions wherein the disk revolveth are under his plans, as well as the north wind, and the river flood, and the celestial waters, and the staff of life, and every flower. He is Nepra, and he giveth his green herbs. He is the Lord of the chef food. He ladeth on abundance, and he giveth it unto all lands. There is joy everywhere. All hearts are glad. All hearts are glad. Every face is happy, and everyone adoreth his beauty. His love is doubly sweet unto us, and his active benevolence embraceth all hearts, and the love for him is great in everybody, and they do what is right. For the son of AUSET, his enemy hath fallen before his wrath, and he that worketh evil hath fallen at the sound of his voice. When the son of AUSET The avenger of his father, the son of Auset, cometh against him. He shooteth forth his anger in his season. Holy and beneficent is his name, and in awe of him abideth in its place. His laws are established everywhere. The path is clear, the roads are open, and the two lands are content. Wickedness departeth, evil goeth away. The earth is at peace under the rule of its Lord, and Ma'at established by its Lord, and setteth its back against iniquity. The heart of Unnefer, the son of Auset, is glad, for he hath received the white crown, and the rank of his father is by his right. In the house of Seb, he is Ra when he speaketh, and Tehuti when he writeth. The assessors of Auset are content. He let what hath been decreed for thee by thy father Seb be performed according to his word. May Osiris, governor of Amentet, lord of Abydos, give a royal offering. May he give sepulchre meals of oxen and fowl and bandages and incense and wax and gifts of all kinds and power to make transformations and master over the Nile, and the power to appear as a living soul and see the disk daily, and entrance into and exit from rest thou. May my soul not be repulsed in the underworld. May it be among the favored ones before Unnefer. May it receiveth cakes and appear before the altar of the great God, and snuff the sweet breath of the north wind. Hotep Ma'at.
Yeah, we're here, and we're the best.
Let's go.
Like my brother Arcad, always remain calm against demons.
Peace, peace, peace. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, Hotep, loud and clear.
Hotep, great brother. What'd you think, brother?
Hotep, so many thoughts. That is really powerful. I learned a lot about Ausar, and that's a great compliment to only the Netarus can judge me, as Ausar was the judge of the dead. I took a lot of notes. A few things that stood out. Of course, page 114, how it talked about Ausar as, I'm gonna read the section. It is that originally the same conception underlay both names. It is useless to argue that because the dynastic Egyptians at a late period of their history substituted the disk of Ra for the I in the name Ausar, and because they addressed to the god Hyms, the Neter Hyms, in which they identified him as the source of light, and as Ra, therefore Ausar was originally a solar god, a solar Neter. I thought that was really powerful. So to you, great brother, for sharing this info about Ausar, and it being one of the many names of the asteroids named after the Neteru and the Bennu bird. I like how it talked about Ausar was a water spirit, a water netter. And then I also like the part where you shared in a passage in the text of Unas, line 191 FF, the angel of Tehuti and the ancient ones and the great terrifier who cometh from the Nile Hap and Apuat. I like that part. I like Tehuti and Ausar transforming into bears. That was super powerful. I like it mentioning Tehuti as the scribe of the Neteru. Yeah, like I said earlier, this complemented really strong the presentation that I shared about only the Neteru can judge me, and how Ausar was being the judge of the dead, how you shared the judgment scene. You just shared so much about the connection of Ma'at, Tehuti, and Ausar, and then just everything about Ausar is super powerful because we know that Ausar was there during the time of the Septepi. And so this is very important information for all of us who are followers of Ma'at. So to you, great brother, for sharing that.
ENNEAD, great brother. Yeah, I learned a lot too. I kept stopping because all this is new to me. I'm not even faking it. I'm learning all of this as we go. I'm learning, teaching, and so what's interesting to me, I mean, a lot of things, but one of the things that stood out was how they completely stole, and it says it, how they got the whole resurrection story from Ausar, how he was born and died, and then even you know, how they connect Christianity to the resurrection with Heru, like the immaculate, what they call the Immaculate Conception. Just reading it and seeing it, it opened up. I have so many questions now. It's like I have a lot of questions, but just the connection, you know, to give context into that, because we don't know, you know. And another thing was that as I'm reading the names of the netters, the beautiful Nefer names of the netters, I know how Saba pointed out that how the Ptolemies couldn't pronounce certain words because of the, you know, the sound frequency. And I was noticing how because I speak English, you know, that there was words that I wasn't able to pronounce. And you know, it's just it's just important that we learn about our culture, man. It's very important that we are able to trace everything back to the source. I'm just grateful for my teacher, because I would have known nothing about this book, nothing about these papyruses and yeah, listen, and then it's so much, brother. As I was reading, I wanted to stop and I wanted to take my own notes as I was reading it, because I was having so many insights as I was reading it. Some of it didn't make sense to me, but some of it did. It was just touching. It was resonating. It just was resonating just on a deep level for me. And I'm Henu to the Natiru, Henu to our great Saba Tehuti, Amahotep Ra, for just waking us up, man, and for showing us the importance of what did the ancestors say themselves, what did the Natiru say themselves, you know. And I read a lot of, and I'm grateful for Saba, because as I was reading what was being written by Budge, I was truly able to eat the fish and spit out the bone, as they say. I was truly able to digest what was beneficial for me and what wasn't. It's a lot of disrespect that went there. And a lot of times I wanted to stop and change the words, but I tried to keep it as accurate as possible and read exactly what they have written. But man, it's the whole the whole, even how like embalming, you know, the way our modern funeral practices are, where it came from, you know, where the inspiration came from, the everlasting life, and a lot of the stuff that's spoke about in some of these religions that we're familiar with, to see where the origins are. You know, it's good to know the origins. Like, you know, I'm not you know, whatever, do what you like, but you know, I want the truth, and I want to be able to. I want to know what they said themselves. I want to know, why was it important for them to say it, you know, and to be able to read it as they said it is just, it's very nefer. So yeah, I'm gonna let Ani speak. Great brother, what'd you think, good brother?
Yes, Hotep. Yeah, Tua for reading that and for putting together some slides for us as well prior to the reading. And and the Matrix,
Yeah, thanks for the disclaimer. Yeah, I don't know. You see, we be in alignment. Thanks for the disclaimer, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tua for that. That's always very enjoyable. And I love, how you showed and showed just how important these tones, these vibrations are, that they're still being utilized today. So Hindu for that. And yes, Ausar. I love how at the intro of the reading, how Budge attempts to break down Ausar's name, which is something that, me personally, I always love to do when I'm going to the Natiru, because that'll tell you, just from their Ren, more about them than any type of Google search that you'll come across. So I love that part, the Os and the Or, and how it was Usur Ra at one point, and Ausar, the throne, and the eye was also the sun. And so it's important to be able to look at these words and these names and know that they have meaning. And this is what the English language has removed. These Latinized languages is the actual meaning behind names. Names don't have meaning no more. And so when we go to look at the words and the names of the Natiru, it tells us about them, because that's why it's their name. So I love that part. And just everything that goes into how big and what came from the death of Ausar, and how, as you showed, just Ausar and AUSET just traveled for a very long time, and we're still deep within the Roman times, still being venerated by those people. So it's amazing to be able to have the language to read, and directly from what it is that they taught. And it's just a beautiful thing that I'm very grateful to have, and why I'm so grateful for Saba Tehuti for coming forward, and because no one can teach the Metanetter like he can, because to live the writings, to live the teachings, gives you a whole nother plate to start to pull from when you're doing your research than those who don't, because they're only looking at it from a scholastic point of view. But the ones who created it were that, as well as working on the Ka and the Ba, and understanding the Aku, what people know today as the spiritual realms and the realities and the different levels of consciousness. So Hinu to the great Saba Tehuti for coming forward and showing us how to read this properly, while going through and seeing what Budge is saying and what all these scholars say. And like you said, be able to take what is actual sustenance for us and remove that which is we can know as isfet or untrue. So that's an advantage that we have over everyone else, and it's a beautiful thing. So there are many hymns to Ausar. This one that you read is a very beautiful one, very nefer, and this is really what started. This is what started what we see today within these religions, and giving praise and adoration to different consciousness or beings that people call gods. So it's just a beautiful thing, and just the story and the cultivation of Ausar, and the resurrection and the planting, and him teaching about, I love when it's taught about him teaching about husbandry, and how that went to then create what it is to be a house band. So Ausar is really the foundation for so many concepts that we live out today, that no one knows. So yeah, Hindu to you, great brother. Tua for reading this, and yeah, for that journey, that journey that you took us on, leading to the reading, death culture. So Tua Hindu, great brother. We truly appreciate you and what you're bringing forth with us. So Hindu, great brother.
And you're a great brother. Hindu to you, brother. You're a great inspiration and a motivation. And we are the Netta, the Natiru exists, and it's up to us to echo their tones and to speak their names, to keep them alive. So I'm having so many insights, and I mean, it was just a lot of magic was happening as I was reading. I was getting, just so many doors was opening up. It was oh man, I'm grateful, brother, because like I said, I'm very proud to say that I'm a baby and I'm learning, and the first thing that we need to learn is how to speak. So to learn the Medu Neter, and this is why when I do read what they say, what their opinion is about it, it gives me some understanding, because I speak they tone. So in their languages, and the way they recite things, but I'm understanding with my heart. I'm understanding with my Eve. So it gives a lot of context, and then I'm able to relate a lot of different things to the ancient teachings that I was completely, I just wasn't that familiar with. I'm able to connect the dots. So Hindu to you, Hindu to the great teacher, Saba Tehuti Amenhotep Ra, because definitely it's his wisdom that has got us to where we're at right now, from the beginning of time, according to the writings. It was always Tehuti's wisdom. He's the one that taught AUSET, the words of power, and that Hekka, and I'm learning so much, and I'm so grateful. I'm learning so much, as especially when it comes to the utterances, and how to use them. And I'm just grateful, brother. So Tua to you, Hindu to you, great brothers. Hindu to primordial thought, Hindu to you, Menkur Ra, Hindu to you, Ani, and Hindu to our great teacher, Saba Tehuti Amenhotep Ra, and Hindu to everybody in the chat. I appreciate y'all patience. I know that was a long ride. It was a long journey. It didn't seem that long when I was looking at it. Ani had me cut it short. It was a little longer than that. Ani said, "Yeah, let's cut it. Let's make it a 2-part." So I'm grateful that we have enough writings, even though we don't have all of them, but we have enough to be where we're at right now. So we have enough to begin to build what we're building. So Hinnu to the Natiru.
Yeah, I wanted to say one other thing too. Atef, this is really beautiful too, because I'm having insights too as well from the reading and just from us building right now. And when we think of judges, right, how I was talking about sharing readings on Tehuti being the righteous judge, and now we see Ausar as the judge. It's really important for us to connect the dots, like you said, because also too, when we go back to the dollar and the Makai, and Ani was talking about Ausar being the foundation and inspiration of so many things of this time. That's why the dollar, you know, them putting the Makai on the dollar, and then they also put the dead presidents on the dollar, right? So they're copying our ancestors left and right, and it's so apparent that they want to obtain the power that our ancestors held. So all of this information is so important. So you know, these teachings need to be long, right? Because we're catching up for so much being hidden and stolen from us. So it's very, very important that we give these teachings and we share these tones of our ancestors.
To our great brother, they can hide the truth, but they can't make it go away. So it's there. And yes, it's they giving adoration to their ancestors. So, you know, it's very important that we give adoration to ours, because familiar with the teachings, that was a big disrespect, or one of the greatest disappointments was to not be remembered, was to not be you know, remembered. So Hinnu to the Natiru, Hinnu to Ausar, Hinnu to all the great Natiru, AUSET, Heru, Hinnu to all of them. And you know, that's very important. So, you know, on this journey, I'm just following my heart. Even with picking the stories and what I choose to read, I read all the time, but the things that I'm when I pick the stories to read, I can't just sit down and just open the page and read it. I have to be guided by my Eve. So you know, last time I read about AUSET and the power of what we utter, what we say, you know, she was she was skilled at utterances. So it's very important that we pay attention to what we say. And then now we're reading you know, about her mate, not her counterpart. You know, it's just very, 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 very important that we learn who we are and what we're capable of, and we learn our power and we don't take it for granted. So as far as what we say, how they say words have power, and the power of the tongue and all of that, all of those words, all of those sayings can be traced back to our ancestors. You know, the power of the tongue and you know, it's all hekah, you know, but we don't connect it. We don't connect those things with our culture. So, you know, it's very important that, you know, and again, when I began to read these stories of our ancestors, you know, initially it was just because I didn't want to get the channel flagged because of what I was bringing forth, the teachings, and, you know, showing videos and different things. It was, you know, we got a strike. The channel was getting shut down. So, you know, it was just going back to the lab. It's being reborn every day. So, you know, I was inspired to, you know, echo the tones of our ancestors. And, you know, I'm just in a place where I want to, I don't want to take it for granted. I don't want to take this wisdom and this knowledge for granted. And I'm learning how to speak. So what better way to learn how to speak than to speak as they spoke and to speak what they spoke. You know, I add in what, you know, what the Egyptologists say. But if you was paying attention, man, Budge contradicted himself at least 4 or 5 times. You know, and what they say and what they write down is just, you read it and then they contradict what they say, you know, 4 lines down. You know, and I'm glad that I'm able to see that and decipher that. So again, 2 out of you, great brothers. Primordial Thought, welcome, great brother.
Hey, peace, brother. Appreciate you. I missed the last like 5-10 minutes of the ending part because dealing with some family things. But from everything else that I heard, you absolutely right. One thing that I didn't like was the fact how Budge, like, I don't like how he gives an opinion on saying how much it seems like they know a little bit on this, or they're not logical on, you know, certain things that they were you know, from the perspective of thinking that the ancestors didn't know what they were talking about. And that's a little off-putting, especially when you read the commentary about those things. But clearly, everything that Saba breaks down from what the ancestors was talking about, they spot on. And especially when you brought up the whole, you know, Osiris Rex, and you know, they built that whole company off of the teachings of the ancestors. So just things like that, man, always makes me. You definitely know what you're talking about if people have built empires and corporations off of your knowledge. To me that says everything. I like that beautiful picture of Seti and Ausar. That was fire. That picture just in itself was dope. I appreciate this good read, brother. And that was only half of it, right?
Yeah, that was yeah. To cut it in half.
Yeah, that was fire, brother. I appreciate that good read. I'm definitely looking forward to the second half of it. And Henu, peace and love to you, great brother. I appreciate. I do like when you get into the commentary and you do read about things, because you get to see. You're also reading it to us, but you also get to see for yourself how much value you want to put on the commentary. So some people live by it and they only base their understanding on it, but I'm happy that you can see the contradictions that are within it. So Henu, peace and love to you, great brother. Appreciate your consistency.
Yeah, real quick, I want to say too, sorry.
No, go ahead, great brother. I was just saying too.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Budge too, you know, referring to the King's List as the cartouche. He knows it's the Shin. You know what I mean? Why would you even write it in a book like that? And so I just want to, you know, give a Henu and Kes to our master teacher, Saba Tehuti, who is the righteous judge in this day and time, that's, you know, bringing our focus and attention to this history, this great history, so that we can, you know, grab the torch and honor the ancestors, because when we honor them, we strengthen them. And so this is a beautiful reciprocity for us to be sharing this information and building around it. But yeah, Budge, you know, can only expect so much with these people. And so we have to be the righteous judges, right? And hold Budge and all these so-called Egyptologists. We have to hold them to the standard, right? Because Ma'at is right and truth. And so that's what our Saba Tehuti has been doing for 30 plus years. And now it's our time to do that as well, to model and follow his guidance and his leadership. So Henu to our master teacher, Saba Tehuti.
Yeah, it's almost disrespectful, a lot of the stuff they be saying. It's like, oh man, it make me want to like rephrase it and reword. It's like it doesn't feel right when it's coming out as I'm reading it, and I know it's just utter foolishness. And you know, it's like, but I think it's important, like you said, to show, well, this is what they said. And then, but then if you actually pay attention, you'll see that a lot of he contradicts himself, but then a lot of what they say, because he gives a lot of context. He does give a lot of context and shows where a lot of stuff comes from. So that's why it's important when I'm reading it to like just go ahead and read it through, because where I'm at, I'm a baby, and if I could see it, then I know a lot of people, that are at least serious about Ma'at, the truth, that they could see it too, or eventually they will, So I'm grateful for that, and just the ancient Tehutian teachings of the Natiru. So take everything back to the source. So that's exactly what we do. Just recently I found out, because I've been doing a little bit of study, and I didn't know that the Penn Museum has a lot of they have a lot of our stolen artifacts. They even have a Harakuti in one of their I don't know if it's on display, but they have a what they would call a sphinx, that I had I had a lot of other stuff to bring forth. Like I was looking at the shaft of Osiris, and just a lot of things, man. I'm just opening the doors for myself, and for a lot of people that are where I'm at. So dua to the ancestors, and Hindu to you, great brothers.
Yeah, Hindu to you, great brothers too. Now that I'm kind of in the Septepi, you know what I mean? A lot is opening up to what can be shared. So if you brothers ever interested in tag teaming a teaching, I would love to do that. Like MCs go back and forth. Maybe we could do a teaching where it's it's multiple, it's twos or threes, or all four of us are teaching on one topic simultaneously. Ani, great brother, when you was off camera and you came back on camera, it looked magical, like you just appeared like a Netaru. What is that? What is you doing, Ani? Is that a flex? Why are you flexing like that? I saw it. You don't think I saw that?
What happened?
You I saw it. Everybody else might not have seen it, but I saw what happened when you came back on camera. Oh yeah, there we go. That's yo. Oh, that's fire. Yo. So beautiful. I like that.
Back here meditating during the read.
Say that again.
It's back here meditating during the read.
Oh man, I like that.
Yes, Hotep. I think that's a great idea, Minkwa Ra. I would love to do that. That'd be a great thing that we can build on for sure. That'd be a great thing. So two up for that. We'll speak on that for sure. See what we can come up with.
Nini up.
All right. Yes. Tua Hotep, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed and learned something new about Ausar. And it's a beautiful thing. As Atef said, this is part 1. There'll be a part 2 as well. And continue to keep researching, continue to keep digging to find this information and bring forth what the great ancestors taught to build up the greatest civilization to exist on the planet. And it started with the foundation of the teachings. So we're reestablishing this. So Hotep and Henu, Tua for all the great supporters, the ones who are supporting the House of Aten. Those links are pinned to the top of the chat. So for everyone who's watching on the playback, please utilize those links and send in what we call reciprocity or Tua Ishin. Tua Ishin, and just giving adoration and for that which you received. And we appreciate and love each of you who do so, which is why we call our supporters the Meru, which is the meta-netted word for supporter, which is also the word for love, the beloved. So Tua and Henu to everyone, and I'll show some of the I'll show the support that came through. Again, houseofaten.org. And you can donate there, or you can donate through PayPal or Cash App. So Tua and Henu. And I do want to give a great brother Bijan Pharaoh a shout out as well, because he sent me a personal support to my personal Cash App for the SCRIIIBE Sessions Volume 1 album that I put out. So Tua Hinu for supporting that piece of art, great brother. I truly appreciate that, and wanted to give you Tua for that as well. So Hinu to you. Yes, and there is more music in the works. There's a lot happening behind the scenes, and got some new innovative things that we're going to bring forth to everyone. So Tua and Hinu for that. And so let's go ahead and start to show some of the support of the great Meru. Well, first we'll start with the great brother who's on the panel, Primordial Thought 9, who went to houseofaten.org. And he went ahead and purchased the Initiate Membership Level 3, Keru Kemet. So let's give him a great round of applause.
Yo, let's go.
Everything is fraudulent. Like everything we see is fraudulent. What we wear, what we drive, like we are in the matrix. Like we are in the matrix. When you walk outside and you see Rolex, like you are in the matrix. You are being brainwashed. Like all of this is designed to be fraudulent, to make people think that you are.
Yeah, we're here, and we're the best.
Hinu to the great brother Primordial Thought 9. Tua to you, great brother, for just being who you are, everything that you're doing, just watching your ascension happen, and now you're bringing forth classes and bringing forth your wisdom teachings, your Sebayit, and it's a beautiful thing. So Tua and Hinu for just continuously and consistently supporting and representing the teachings as well, great brother. So Hinu and Tua.
Great brother. You already know House of Aten forever.
Absolutely. All right. Next, we have the great brother AUSET, the calm one with the axe, who sends in 1572 for Tua Ishin. Tua Sin Or Atef Rem Kemaat. Keru Kemet member. Tua to the great brother AUSET, supports in everything that we do, and made in him alongside Primordial Thought 9, who doubled down on it. Great brother AUSET brought forth to read through the teachings and go through the Sebayit of Mary Kara in the Wisdom Wednesday classes. So we'll be going through that in the next Wisdom Wednesday classes for all the great Karu. Make sure you all are in Discord. And I have a special Wisdom Wednesday section in the Discord for all the Karu, which is where I post the link for the stream that I bring forth as a private class for all the great Karu, called Ma'at Wisdom Wednesdays. And all the great Karu, if you're not able to make it there live, I do have them recorded. So you can just reach out to me, and it's just a free will support to Ishin of whatever you feel the recording is worth to you, and I'll send those out to you. So Tua and Hinu to everyone for that, and peace and love to this great brother AUSET. All right, next we have the lovely Angela Gates, who sends in $5 for a Atef reading. Yes, Hotep to the wonderful Angela Gates, who's very consistent, supports consistently for the classes, and is always here with us. So to our sister and representing the sisters and being within the teachings. So Henu to you, much love and protection to you. All right, and next we have the Nefer duo Anu and Antu, who sends in $20 for Tua Henu Nefer reading Atef. We appreciate you. Yes, Hotep and Henu to Anu and Antu, very consistent. Keru of the House of Aten, and looking forward to seeing more of what they bring to the table as well. And there's definitely some things in the works. So I'm just excited for all the great Keru and what everyone is doing. And the time between the classes and still staying within the studies and putting together presentations and doing their studies and creating and doing more things. And it's just a beautiful thing to just do it consistently. And Anu and Antu are a great representation of that. So Henu to both of you for that. All right. And next we have the great brother in the chat, Bijan Farrell, who sends in $20 for support, House of Aten, Netter Axe, and an owl. Henu Saba with the top hat. Hotep Henu to the great brother Bijan Farrell. We appreciate you, great brother, and all the consistency that you are showing forth. And looking forward to seeing more of your art as well. Haven't seen some of your art since you came on last time. Definitely would like to see some art that you're working on, great brother. So continue to keep your scribing up, keep drawing, and bringing them forward so we can also participate in your art, great brother. So Tua and Henu. And next we have the most active Keru member, Nook Poo with the flames. Hotep and Henu to this great brother who sent in 3 supports for 333 3 times for Henu, Netter Atef, Akhir Presentations, Hotep Marie E Ma'at for Henu, Netter Minku for last week's presentation, Hotep Ma'at, Heka Kua, I am possessed by the Natiru, Ma'akaru, 3 acts. Yes, Hotep to Nook Poo. Again, Tua for coming up on the panel last Sunday and sticking true to your Medu. Henu to you, great brother. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you more on the panel and working on some things as well. It's a beautiful thing. You have a lot to bring forward. A very intelligent, creative brother here. Very magical brother as well. So Tua and Henu to you. And we appreciate all the support that you give and all the aku that you provide within the House of Aten. So Henu, great brother. All right. And I think that is the support. Again, houseofaten.org. Links are in the description below. You also see it scrolling right here. Cash App, PayPal, House of Aten for everyone who's watching on the playback. Tua to all the great Maru. And well, let's see. We have let's see. We have one more. Let's put this in. Is this let's see who this is. I see Ant. Is this Cash Peden? Not sure. If this is, let us know in the chat. Remember, remember, let's see. Here we go. Okay, yes, Cash Peden, Peace Good Brother says, I sent a little appreciation. Hopefully you got it. Yes, we did, and we're going to show it here. Says, remember, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Keep It Up, formerly known as Arcad, Atef Rem Kemetic. Soon you'll be sharp as Ani. Kennu hands.
Yo, let's go.
To our great brother Cash Peden for supporting the class. I always see you here in the Tef's class, so I'm glad to see you here and supporting the great brother Tef. So Tua and Hinu. All right. Let me refresh one more time and double check. Okay, yes. Cash Peden was the last one. So again, houseofaten.org. Go get your merch. Go get your merch. Utilize those points. Sign up for the newsletter. Create an account. Follow all the social platforms. Every 100 points, you get 10% off. Utilize those points. And again, just represent the House of Aten. So Tuan Hotep, and we'll begin to close out and let the great brothers, if you all have anything that you all want to speak about before we close out. But yes, you can go ahead and close out. Hotep.
Yes. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, peace and love to all the support, everybody who's definitely supporting the House of Aten. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody in the chat. All the active people in the chat, like Nook You know, he holds it down, reign supreme in the chat. To everyone. To Anu, and appreciate the moderator, Anu. Appreciate you, great brother. To the great Atef. Appreciate you, brother, with that wonderful read again. Hope everybody have a wonderful week. Continue to grow, continue to resi, and continue to just make yourself better every day. May Ra grant you and your family health and prosperity. May your monument be established on the foundations of Ma'at, and may you all rise and come forth this conscious light, like the divine Ra, who rise and shine forevermore in Ma'at. Hotep, peace and love.
Hotep, peace and love to the chat. Hinu, Kes, to our master teacher, Saba Tehuti. Kes to the great brothers on the panel. Hinu to the ancestors. Looking forward to continuing to build. To y'all for another great, beautiful session. It's great to witness this beautiful reciprocity, never reciprocity from Atef, honoring our ancestors. And with that, I will close with the adoration to Tehuti. Come to me, Tehuti, O noble ibis. Come to me and give me counsel to make me skillful in your calling. He who masters it is found fit to hold office. Fate and fortune are to be found with you. Hinu Hotep. You're on mute, Ani. Ani, you're on mute.
Tua. Yes, Hinu Hotep is giving Hinu to the great brother Menku Ra Mary Ma'at, the head Ma'at festivities organizer, as he is working on the Pathways to Awakening 2024, which will be in October. Everyone, make sure you have an account, whatever you set a little to the side every week. We want everyone to come out We want everyone to come out to this Pathways to Awakening. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be, it's beautiful. So be a part of the history that's being made. And I'm looking forward to everyone coming out. It was a beautiful event last year, and I'm super excited about this one. It's beautiful, so I'm excited for it. So Hotep to the great brother Minku Ara Mary Ma'at, Hinu to the great brother Primordial Thought 9 for doing what he is doing, coming forth and bringing forth these powerful presentations on the Seba'it, on the things that he's working on behind the scenes as well. It's just a beautiful thing, great brother. So Hinu, for all that what you're going through, and for being able to always show up and transmute and always come forth in Ma'at. It's a beautiful thing to see. So Hotep to you, great brother. And Nukpu says, do we have a near date yet? Would you like to answer that, Mikora?
The date for the Pathways it's October 20th, right? we haven't talked about it a lot. It's just a lot of planning behind the scenes. So I'm having to memorize them in my head, but I think it's October 20th. Is that correct, Ani? Help me, great brother.
Well, the date, we have a date for you all, but we have to wait a little bit of time just to make sure it's solidified. So that's really why we haven't been putting the date out there too much, because to book the venue, there has to be a specific amount of time. So until we book it, but it'll definitely be in that late October range. So we'll be able to give you a more solidified date. July, but we're already going ahead and putting it out there now for you all, so you can go ahead and be thinking about it. But yes, it'll be towards the end of October for sure. To our great brother Minku Ara. All right. Yes. So Hotep Hinu Ma'akaru, Tua and Hinu to all the great supporters, the Maru, the Kuru, the members of the House of Aten, Tua for everyone's journeys, what everyone is doing throughout the week and going into your studies and doing your disciplines and staying focused and aligned and taking your creative. Everyone is so creative here and learning how to take that which is important to your Ebe and find a way to facilitate it through different aspects to bring forth for others to benefit from your Ka. It's a beautiful thing. So Hinu to everyone, Tua for all the support. We're definitely looking forward to presenting and bringing forth more and more to everyone, and it's all because of you all and the beautiful support. So the House of Aten, the Natiru exist. This is the only platform where you're going to come and find ancestral writings based on what the ancestors said and teaching it from what the ancestors taught as well. The great ancestors were the ones to bring forth so many things, and it's just a wonderful journey to be amongst such beautiful and pure frequencies, and watching everyone and observing everyone and going through all these things with everyone and cleansing and purifying the E, purifying the Ka, removing the Isfet, reprogramming all of the matrix that we all grew up with and that was implanted with us, whether consciously or subconsciously, just seeing everyone continuously expand and enhance themselves and come forward as conscious light. It's just an honor to just be a part of that. So Hotep Henu, Sakim M. Arit, Murder Ka'a, Semu Hatu Natiru, Pert Ent Hetep. I obtain the power to do what pleases my Ka. May the hearts of the Natiru lead me. I come forth in peace. Ma'akaru.
Bennu to everybody in the chat. HouseOfAten.org. Come join us. I can't find that button, but peace and love to all the supporters. We appreciate you. Definitely looking forward to this Pathways to second annual. You know, we gotta enact the festivities. We have to you know, we have to live it. We have to celebrate each other. So Bennu to the Natiru, Bennu to everyone in the chat that supports, Bennu to Ma'at. And with that, we'll close out with our beautiful affirmation. From today's teachings, homage to thee, Osiris, Lord of eternity, the King of the Natiru, thou who hast many names, whose forms of coming into being are holy, whose attributes are hidden in the temples, whose double is most venerated. Thou art the chief of TETTU, the great one who dwelleth in Sekhem, the Lord to whom all praises are offered. The company of the Natiru sing praise unto thee, and the starry gods of the underworld bow down with their faces to the earth before thee. The ends of the earth prostrate themselves before thee, and the bounds of heaven make supplication unto thee when they see thee. Unki and Ma'at, Un-N-S, Nintet Auset and Ma'at, Min Hepapet and Ma'at, Per in Uqe, Per Ikut. I live for Ma'at. I exist within her. I do not speak in the place of Ma'at. Every day I advance towards Ma'at. My being is surrounded in darkness. I come forth as conscious light.
Like my brother Arcad, always remain calm against demons.
Yo, let's go.
Shed. Closed my eyes, then I woke up back in my bed. I could see my room as clear as looking through a lens. See, I thought I was awake, so then I tried to move, but my body shocked me like I was plugged in a socket. I started panicking and scrambling within my mental. I thought I died and now my body, I'm forever locked in. I was screaming, help me, someone help me please. But there wasn't any sound making it through my teeth. I could see movement in motion, shadows gather around me. How could I close my eyes already closed? Eating alkaline at this time, fasting rezo shocking. I was stuck in a paralysis, it had me froze. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth. It's time to shed. I finally started waking up and coming back. I was in the opposite of state's effect. That's relaxed. I grabbed my phone and started to do research. Knowledge of what happened, I was in a lack. Insidious, the movie came direct to mind. Every time I've seen this, it was connected to what's not divine. Demons crawling forcefully, holding the body down. Ain't no point in trying to scream, you will not make a sound. Deep within, I knew I made that a reality. The all is mine, I saw it, and so shall it be. I start replacing fear with knowing universe is mental. Talking to my subconscious to wake me up in dreams. Then one day my spirit guides came in so essential. Daylight's astral playing loud in my dream helped to set me free. I'm back in paralysis laying on my couch. but this time I was calm, ready to exit out. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth. It's time to shed. From what I read, I need to move my arms in front of me. See a rope and pull it, separate and then release. Now I'm out, I see my house is gleaming, I accept it. Looking in the mirror, staring at my car's reflection. I was so ecstatic, flying in every direction. This was months of subconscious reprogramming and redirection. Place my thoughts in my body, wake up, that's what I did. I was reborn from that day so I could start to live. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth. It's time to shed.